represent any police department, agency, sponsor, or employer. Two Cops, One Donut isn't responsible for anything said by guests or for any videos, clips, or content shown during the live stream. This show is intended for adult audiences only. We cover real incidents, we show graphic and sometimes disturbing footage, and we don't shy away from strong language or adult conversations. There may or may not also be alcohol involved. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Everything you hear or see on the show is for entertainment and educational purposes. It is not legal advice, and it's not tactical instruction, and it shouldn't be used for such. By continuing to watch, you're telling us that you understand, you accept all this. All right, now let's get into it. All right, welcome back. I am your host, Erik Lavigne. This is Two Cops, One Donut. Got my co-host with me, Banning, and our special guest logged in with no time to spare.
Sorry.
Sean Lozano. What's up, brother?
What's going on, guys? How are you guys? I just got to my hotel in Orlando a bit ago, and I just left Tampa, and I'm just getting myself set up here. So I was like, man, I'm like running shorter on time than I was expecting, but I made it in time. So here we are.
Okay. No worries, it happens. Let me get this arranged here. We'll make you the center focus point of attention. So, yeah, this is our first live that we've done since I went on vacation. Sean, I know you don't know this, but yeah, I went on vacation last week. Normally we do these live streams every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you are new to the show, what we do is we talk everything that involves law enforcement, the criminal justice system, and how we can make it better, bridging the gap, finding out what we suck at, what we're good at, why we think we're good at something, what makes it good, why you should repeat those things, and then kind of finding out what led people down a path in law enforcement or the military. I'm both military and police, and Banning is I shouldn't say retired Marine. He was an active duty Marine that stopped doing it, and then he was now he's a retired cop. So just to give you a little bit of our background, Sean, and then yeah, we're both out here in Texas, and I know you're out there in Florida, and
Yes.
I happen to run across one of your. We don't do a whole lot of politics on here, but your campaign video was sent to me, and it was fucking awesome. Because it was just some hard-nosed police work. Was the whole election video, so I thought that was pretty cool. But Sean, enough of my rambling mouth here. I want to respect your time, and I want to get to know you. I want people to understand your background, and I kind of want to go from how you decided to become a cop, maybe if you had a military background or anything like that, and then how does a cop end up getting into the realm of politics, because that's so far beyond anything I ever want to do. I just want to hear how that goes. But go ahead and introduce yourself, brother.
So yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on the show, guys. I really appreciate it, and obviously appreciate what you guys do and your service out there in Texas. It's funny. I first of all, I'm the first cop in my family. There wasn't any other law enforcement in my family, not that I'm aware of, at least. So it's just something that always kind of called to me. I think anybody that wears the badge and does this job, I think for the right reasons, kind of has that same feeling of like, just you got this itch you have to scratch, and you might pursue it at one point in your life and it doesn't work out, and then you go do something else, and then it keeps coming back up until I think you just take the dive. And I think I always thought I would just regret it for the rest of my life if I didn't get to have that experience as a police officer. And so I'm thankful for that experience. I did a ride along with Fort Lauderdale PD. This is like, 9 years ago now, maybe 8 years ago. And I remember we were leaving roll call, and this guy, this patrol officer, he says to me, "Why do you want to do this job?" And I started giving like that canned like interview. I'm like, "Well, sir, I want to better the community, and I want to blah blah blah." And he's like, "Dude, like, first of all, if you apply here, like, I'm not even going to be the person that is on your board. Like, just give me the real, like, you need to come up with a better answer if that's your actual answer." And I was like, I want the action, I guess. Like, I want the excitement. And he's like, "That's a better answer, honestly." And I think that everybody, like, it's hard to understand this if you don't do this, if you never did this job. But like, if your whole why is to better your community, you're very quickly going to become disillusioned, I think, and maybe unmotivated, because it's not just what we do out, what you guys do out in the field and what police do. It's what the prosecutor does. It's what the judge does. It's do you have a good full legal system in the city and county in which you're enforcing the law? And if the answer is no, then it doesn't really matter how effective you are on the street. Look, I'm sure you've been doing this longer than me. I've arrested the same person. Patrick Ford is one of my most frequent arrests. I arrested that guy like 6 times. Okay, and I'll keep arresting that guy. Well, if I'm still a cop, I'd keep arresting him. And so I think that my why was just I loved doing it. I loved waking up every day and putting on my gun belt and vest. And I never thought twice about, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? No, I just loved getting into the shit. I would have coworkers that would say to me like, "Man, Lozano, why why do you do this to yourself? Like every day we hear you over. I don't know if you guys use 10 codes out there,
Yep.
but okay, so every day they're like, we hear you getting over the radio, you're yelling 1031 or you're doing this, or you're shouting, you're out with a 51, like you're always doing something. It's like, why do you do this to yourself? Because we make the same money sitting under a tree. And
Yep.
I love doing it. That's why I do it. I didn't do it because of whatever punishment they were going to get or a pat on the back. I certainly didn't get, any of that. It was just about, loving the job. So I truly loved it. I policed in a city called Lauderhill. It's a city of about 82,000. They average between, say 35 homicides a year. The high year is like 40, low 40s, mid 40s for a city that size, as you guys know, is pretty high.
That's
Lot of crime in Lauderhill. 82% black demographic, and twice the national violent crime rate in Lauderhill. So certainly busy.
okay. Now, when you got started, how long did you police? Like what year did you jump in?
I got started in earnest. Well, I got sworn in 2022. I started in 21, but I really swore in 22 and worked from 22 until the very end of 2025.
Okay. All right. So you jumped in, and was this a sheriff's department? Was this a city police job,
City,
municipality?
yeah, municipality. Yep.
Okay. So in doing that, about how many cops were at your department?
I mean, we were like 140 sworn, but only probably like 50 on patrol.
Okay. So that's
Top heavy.
it's not what I would call a gigantic police department, but for the
No,
national average, it's above average. So national average is like 20
yeah,
officers at a
yeah,
department. So
above average.
you got quite a few. And then from my understanding, now obviously I'm not in Florida, but Florida, all the cities kind of like run over each other. So
Yeah,
the whoever's surrounding you, all of their stuff's going to be in on you too, because Florida's kind of narrow. So
yeah.
was
We
that
had
your
mutual aid, with Fort Lauderdale, Sunrise, Plantation, Tamarack, Lauderdale Lakes. A few of those cities are managed by the sheriff's office, policed by the sheriff's office, but a few of them have their own Sunrise. They have their own jurisdiction, their own municipality. So yeah, we had mutual aid, and there was a lot of guys at those agencies that I worked with on, Signal 10s. Like but for whatever reason, Lauderhill was a shit magnet. So a 10, like a stolen vehicle, would always end up back in Lauderhill.
yeah.
Just whatever was going on in that city, it would come back to Lauderhill. So we worked a lot with those guys, and you kind of worked similar, or had a similar sort of understanding of how the job was, just because of kind of like
No.
you said, like kind of being on top of each other.
Now, how old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay, so you started in your early 20s,
Like mid 20s.
mid
Yeah,
20s, I should say. Yeah. So
yeah.
did you start when COVID was still ripping and roaring?
No, so it was just like at the end of COVID.
Just
And in
at the end.
Florida,
Okay.
yeah, and in Florida, like it wasn't like my academy was, because Florida wasn't so bad. Like, thank God we had Governor DeSantis here, because the most of the COVID things lifted. Now, obviously, in like government world, it wasn't quite that fast. And
Mm-hmm.
my academy was still like sort of weird at the beginning, and by the end of my academy, it was like everything was normal. It's kind of a weird transition to see it in real time. Um, but yeah, like I didn't police during like the heart of COVID. I've heard the stories, of course, of just what that was like, and dealing with
Yeah.
38s, and just contact versus no contact. And
Yeah, I was just curious if you had to go through your training during
oh
that time, because I mean,
well,
you've
man,
heard of COVID babies. Like there's kids that have like developmental issues because they Vanny, what do you got? Go ahead, buddy.
I just, I talk about it a lot and everybody gets to hear, but COVID babies coming through. I had a handful of guys and gals that I trained, and they literally did their defensive tactics via YouTube videos from
it's
their instructor.
insane.
sitting from home, and they got certified, and the state actually hit that approval button because another warm seat in a
Yeah.
car in the city somewhere in Texas.
And that's
And
all they care about.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
absolutely for sure.
That's crazy.
I was actually in Destin on vacation when COVID kind of kicked off, and we were
Oh,
in a really nice what is it, a deal on the beach, staying on the beach, man, and it was coming through the
yeah,
news,
38.
and it was just like, and then the officials in Destin and Fort Walton Beach, which I'm very familiar with, used to live down there years ago, were saying, we're going to start having less contact on the beach, and you got to wear these. And of course, man, it was we had 2 more days in our vacation. We enjoyed the friggin' beach and then drove home
Damn.
quickly. But yeah, man, it was ridiculous.
Dang.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. So, because my brother-in-law was from he retired out of Clearwater, Florida, police department there. He told me like the implant percentage at most departments that he's seen is like upwards of 80% of officers at a department are implants from another state. Were you born and raised in Florida, or were you an implant as well?
So I would be considered an implant. I mean, I didn't do any law enforcement outside of the state of Florida, but it's kind of funny actually. So my family is from Florida. My mother was born and raised in Florida. Her dad grew up was in Florida for most of his life. Her mom, their family is really from Florida. So my parents got together. My dad's side of the family, by the way, is from Cuba. But my dad was born and raised in here in here in the United States. His parents immigrated from Cuba, and then their first stop was here in Florida, and then they went up to North Jersey. Has a big Cuban population, so they ended up in New Jersey. So my dad moves to Florida. Yeah.
The comedian, if nobody knows what I'm talking about, he's from Cuba, but he lives up in New Jersey, and he's always repping Cuba. So
yeah, it's funny because a lot of people don't realize, like, I mean, if you know him, you do, but a lot of people don't realize that there's a significant Cuban population in North Jersey.
yeah,
But yeah, my dad moved down to Florida at a young age and met my mom. And for whatever reason, after getting pregnant, they were like, let's go back to New Jersey. I don't know why maybe in the 90s, there was some draw to New Jersey, but I cannot imagine today thinking I should go to New Jersey. So I've been in Florida for the last decade, and I've never thought once about returning to New Jersey.
Hey, I grew up in Michigan, so I'm with you. I have no interest in going back to snow and cold and gross for 8 months out of the year.
Yeah.
No thanks. Not once you've been down in what I like to call a summer state. Between Texas and Florida. I love Florida. It's great. Great place to vacation for sure.
Yeah.
But I like we talked about on the phone, I like Texas a little better.
Yeah.
So, I know you got your heart there in Florida. Right? So, but Cuba, okay, so I kind of let's go down that rabbit hole a little bit because love the food. Me and the wife would go to Miami for our anniversary. We had we didn't do it intentionally, but like for 3 or 4 years in a row, we'd go to Miami for our anniversary. Just one, because of the food and the dancing and the Cuban culture down there. Just awesome. It's fun. If nobody's ever really witnessed it or seen it, it's one of the most fun cultures and best food to be around. Great time. So did you get to go back to Cuba at all, or I shouldn't say go back. Did you get to go there because of your dad or anything, or was it like?
So funny enough, I think most Cubans, when they leave, they don't ever want to go back. My dad's side of the family, like he was born here, but his one of his siblings was born over there, and his mother obviously was from there, and they never returned. There was this big fear that like if you went back, they weren't going to let you leave, and I mean I don't think there's ever been any documented cases of that, but I think they have like such a horrible experience and like they're traumatized by the communism that they just don't want to even get near it. I did go to Cuba on a trip in 2019. Me and some friends flew down to Cuba. It was like just before Trump closed it again. So we went down to Havana. It was really cool to see actually, because I knew we're like there. I did like my grandparents, like where their house was. I got to like drive down that street and like see their house, and it was like bizarre, just being like, I mean, essentially a third world country, but just a place that like most people don't get to go and see, and it's just 90 miles south of our own country. So it was neat to see Cuba. I don't speak any Spanish, so and I realized like I'm like a Hispanic looking guy, so like people will just like their default, like especially there, they're just like, let me, they just like speak Spanish, and I'm like, sorry,
Yeah,
what? You know,
you're
like
with
I
your
can't believe.
partner and they look at you. They're like, this guy,
Yeah, that would
yeah, yeah.
happen.
And then you're like, I don't know
So
if I can speak it.
I don't
Happens to you all
know.
the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet it does, you big ginger bastard.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So did you get to witness any of the policing there? Like
So
I know it's probably limited, but I was just curious what your impression was of the policing in Cuba.
it's actually kind of interesting. Yes, I saw some of the policing there in that there's like a presence, especially in the like more toward like if you're downtown Havana essentially. Yeah, there's definitely a quite a presence. I think it's because obviously there's a big it's an impoverished country, so these people want to take advantage of the tourists that come there and have money.
Right.
And I remember just I felt safe like the entire time I was in Cuba. Like I never felt like I don't know I couldn't walk down the street or something. And I would ask the Cuban people, "Hey, what do you think of your government?" And
Yeah.
one person eventually heard me asking that question, maybe like the sixth person I asked, because I just am like like I want to know like what the people think here. And this
Yeah.
guy hears me asking this question, and he stops me and he goes, "Excuse me," he said, "You should stop asking people that question." And I'm like, "Oh, why?" And he's like, "Because like no one's ever going to answer truthfully. They know like the government watches them, and they're never going to say anything bad." And I was like, "Oh," because everybody's like, "Oh, I love it. It's great. It's great." And I was like, surprised to hear that. So
Yeah.
this guy's telling me, he's like, "Yeah, like no one's gonna ever tell you the truth." So I was like, "Well, I don't feel like there's any kind of like, not that I don't support the Cuban government anyway. Of course, like I think the way they run their country is horrible." But I said to the guy, like, I felt like pretty safe the whole time. And he's like, "Yeah, well, you came in with an American passport, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." He's like, "I promise you, they're following you and they're making sure that like nothing, you don't do anything weird and no one bothers you. They just want you here, spending your money and leave." And it was like an interesting conversation I had with this guy because it was really quick. It was like just he heard me asking this question. He goes, "But stop asking that question." I'm like, "Okay," and I stopped asking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. What I did hear, what Joey Diaz said, actually, it's funny that I didn't plan on talking about Joey Diaz on this, but I'm
Yeah.
a comedian fan. Like I literally named this show after another comedian podcast, Two Bears, One Cave. That's
Okay.
Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura, which Bert Kreischer is a huge presence in Florida because I guess he
Yeah.
graduated from Florida Seminoles College. I don't know what they call it.
FSU.
FSU. There you go. I think that's where he graduated. But the Joey was saying that the reason that happens is because they pay each other. They'll pay you to rat on somebody else that talks ill of the government. So you never want to rat or say something bad about it because somebody else is going to turn you in for talking ill of the government. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And I just, like I said, I had no idea. Like I didn't, people were probably again, I look, I guess, Hispanic, I look like a Cuban guy. So they're like, who's
You
this
do look like a
random
Cuban guy.
Yeah. So who's this Cuban guy that sounds white asking me what I think about the government? They were probably like terrified. Like, why is he asking me this question?
That's funny.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do on here, Sean, that you may not be familiar with, is we have a lot of audience engagement. So we let our audience talk and ask questions and stuff like that.
Yeah, cool.
And I take pride in letting some of the trolls their voice come through so I can see exactly and I'm not going to say this guy's a troll, but I've never seen him on here before. But Thomas Tarkanian, he is not a fan of police.
Yeah,
he said, "We cowards stay silent, watching your coworkers violating someone because you don't want to lose your job or get turned down by your own. You're a coward and a tyrant. Every single one is a coward." I would agree. You're not going to get an argument from me, Thomas. If a cop sees something and he doesn't do anything about it, then yeah, he's a coward. He doesn't belong in the career. I'm not going to let another cop do something bad in front of me. And like I tell people, most of the time they're like, "Oh, a cop's never done anything bad in front of you." No, because most of the time I get ahead of him. If I hear a cop start talking ill and he's ramped up, because that happens too, I pull him back. "Hey, bro, you go deal with this. I got that." I stop it before it becomes a thing. But Sean, you tell me. I know Banning has. I've arrested 4 cops in my career.
Wow.
It's not something I'm proud of, but
of course not.
It's what had to happen. And
I think people don't realize, first of all, and I think you guys are going to immediately get what I'm saying, but they don't realize that there are groups or cliques at every agency, and so those guys, you wouldn't naturally gravitate towards people like that. If there was somebody there doing something that they shouldn't be doing, that wouldn't be somebody that I'm running with. And to answer Thomas's thing, though, I have a personal sort of anecdote that I won't dive too deeply into, but I personally challenged a supervisor, a black female supervisor, who ordered the wrongful arrest in a 38 of domestic because she didn't think it would be helpful to arrest the wife, despite having probable cause established that the wife was the primary aggressor. I took it so seriously that I filed a formal complaint against her for lying, and it became a big issue in my department. But yeah, to Thomas's point, and I don't think I'll ever win over a guy like Thomas, but to Thomas's point, um, I did take the job seriously, and I took it so seriously that I wasn't going to let a person who I don't believe was qualified to even be in her position make decisions ordering people to make bad arrests. And it was serious to me because of this reason. I knew better. But what if she's ordering somebody that's brand new? When you're new, you look at somebody with stripes and you just think they know everything. They know what they're talking about. So of course, this rookie is just going to do whatever this person says. I knew better though. And so what if she's trying to make an order to somebody that doesn't? And yeah, sure, it's a 38. So like you really can't make a bad, call on if it's this which spouse, as long as, you have enough, you can pretty much articulate, a simple domestic fine. Somebody's just going to jail tonight. In Florida, somebody's got to go to jail if there's injuries. But what if it was something more serious and this rookie ends up violating somebody's rights, or doing something that's very serious? They could put their certification in jeopardy, or worse, maybe they're going to go to jail because this supervisor doesn't understand the law. So I do think that kind of thing is serious, Thomas. And I think that the problem with Thomas is just that, not him in particular, but I think the people that say that, oh, you're all cowards, they lump us all into one category. I mean, look, most police officers do this job and they're not bad people. Maybe they don't all do it because they want to run and gun or they want the action, but most people that do this job aren't bad people.
Agreed. And a lot of that is the algorithms. Sometimes people have their YouTube set up on when you ask for bad, you're going to get bad, you're going to get bad. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of FOIA requests for those about Freedom of Information Act, that they're not going out there looking and going, I'm going to ABC Police Department today. I need the last 10 videos of your officers doing something amazing.
Yeah.
I want to put it out on because that doesn't attract an audience that's going to watch fully. But that's the way it is in a lot of parts of the United States. Now, Erik and I's ears, I believe, since he has started this podcast and later invited me on as a co-host, has been inundated and starting to see more of a picture of kind of what's going on that maybe we've been blind to as law enforcement throughout our career, and starting to open our eyes that there is maybe a bigger problem than what is purported within the law enforcement community. And that's, I hate to see that. And that's another reason why we try to do this every week, to kind of give everybody a platform and bring that community and law enforcement back together, kind of where it's been severed. Because just like you said, is there a lot of great things going on in law enforcement? Absolutely. But we still have to be held more accountable at each and every agency across this country.
Yeah. Thomas, I'll let me apologize. I think I said that you're being a troll, and then I took it back. I think that's what I said, but I'll go ahead and apologize. No, you're not a troll necessarily. One, you're actually giving dialogue, so I'm not going to say you're a troll. Most trolls just rant, and then they don't participate in the actual conversation. So I take it back. You're not a troll. If I didn't make that clear earlier, I apologize. You're not a troll. But I will say you also do have a point. There are a lot of videos out there, and there are tons of examples of cops not stepping up. One of the best examples that I like to use on here, and a lot of our audience knows, is, and Sean, you tell me if you've ever seen this video. There's a sergeant that is going overboard with a guy in the backseat of a car, and a female actually steps in and is like, Sarge, like trying to separate them, like doing what we've all been taught. Like, hey, if you see somebody getting a little heated, step in and take over and switch out. And the Sarge turns around and grabs her by like the throat. Like,
Let me tell you something. That happened at Sunrise Police Department. That's a neighboring police agency to Lauderhill. I work with Sunrise Police. I'm very familiar with that.
You know that one. And
yes, I know that one.
Doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That was
and
crazy.
I think that it's easy to get carried away. Of course, we're not robots. And so I think that that's even, there's a scale to that. It's like, we shouldn't, oh, wow, he stepped out of line one time. The problem is, though, where I think you get maybe too comfortable in that area where you think of yourself as being, having emotions and being a human being, and you don't separate yourself enough from the job. And whatever was going on with him that day, man, is just like obviously he let his personal life just get the better of him, and he decided to kind of unload that day because yeah, there's never going to be a situation where and something like that happened in my agency, which with another officer that I'm not going to comment on because he has an ongoing thing, but I think that we have to be careful about how we're intervening with something going on. If somebody's scrapping with somebody, it's completely different, obviously. But if someone's scrapping with somebody, and like let's say either of you guys show up to a situation where one of your officers, your zone partner, is fighting with somebody, your inclination isn't to ask him, "Well, hang on, how'd you get in this situation?" You're just going to go and beat that guy's ass. You're going to tase him. You're going to do whatever you can to get that guy detained, and then you're going to figure out what happened, right? And maybe he was in the wrong. I'm probably not, but maybe he was in the wrong. But your inclination is not to question how he got in that position first. But what
Right.
happened in Sunrise is just insane because it's like, hey, the guy's in custody. He's, you don't need to be, it's over.
You won.
And
It's done.
yeah,
Yeah.
you won. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where, again, I think there's, when we fail, like to Thomas's point, I think when we fail to call out the clearly bad instances, that's when it looks like it's a problem.
Yeah. And Harrison's he's pointing out something. And I didn't say 1% asshole. So Harrison's a buddy of ours. I didn't say 1% are bad. We know that it's more than 1%. And Sean, I've made this clarification on here before. And what I mean by there's this constant made up statistic that cops like to say, oh, 99.9% are out there doing the right thing. No, they're not. There's a very large percent that I don't think, and this is where my made up percentages come in. I think there's a large majority that are out there thinking they're doing the right thing. They're trying to do the right thing, but they've got piss poor training, bad police culture that have made them think what they're doing is right. And it's all constitutional based police issues is the main culprit, and then ego. That's another big thing. So do I think that 0.1% is the percent that's out there doing malicious things? Yes. I think that there's not that many cops out there that are, on the take or out there intentionally like, yeah, like stuff like that. Out there intentionally fucking with people, like and setting up cases. I don't think that's much higher than, less than 1%. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. I think certainly nowadays.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, but I do think that there is a large percent that they think they're doing the right thing, but they're forcing ID when ID shouldn't be done, or they're disarming citizens on basic traffic stops for no other reason than to go on a fishing expedition. And I'm vehemently, that's how you say that word? I can't say the word properly. I'm very much against taking somebody's firearm on a basic traffic stop when you have no other indicators that there's some sort of nefarious incident going on. And again, I hate to point out Florida, but there was a recent case where a officer asked the driver, it was consensual. It was all consensual. So there's no wrongdoing, but now you're taking a firearm of somebody, and the person that takes the firearm shoots the poor gun owner in the leg. And now we've got a incident that should have never even occurred. Why are we taking the gun from a guy who had a license to carry, told you about the firearm, and you're pulling him over for a basic traffic stop? That shit infuriates me. So we're fucking up. We're being bad cops in these little things. That this is what the majority of people are pissed off about when they have a negative connotation towards police. And then all it takes is that one Minnesota, the recent Minnesota accident to happen or whatever it is. And now everybody's so mad, and cops are like, well, I don't get why people, it just happened up there. It doesn't happen anywhere else. No, motherfucker. It's happening in little increments everywhere, and it's accumulating. So
yeah, and I think, I definitely understand what Harrison's saying. And yeah, I have my own sort of, and it's similar, but there's a difference between being dirty and being bad. Just because you're not on the take, or you're not doing the wrong thing, malicious intent, whatever, doesn't mean that you're a good cop. My definition of a good cop is that body cam. And by the way, I sent you that. I didn't go through it first, but I did send you the link, Erik. So if you find that in your DMs, you should be able to pull it up. My definition of a good cop is somebody that gets out there every day and, gets after it because they love doing this job. And not necessarily in the same way that I did the job. You don't have to be that gung ho. You don't have to be a cowboy about it. But I think the kind of like a bad cop as well is the kind of person that comes in and for 12 hours during their shift, they sit under a tree and
Yeah.
watch Netflix or YouTube. I know a lot of guys like that. They didn't patrol their zone. They didn't do any. They weren't proactively looking for anything. They weren't really doing anything. I knew people that literally would say, "My thing that I'm good at is writing a good report." No, asshole. Every cop should write a good report. That
Right.
can't be your thing. That's everybody's thing.
Right.
And I got a question for him real quick.
Let me give Harrison a shout out. He just gifted 20 memberships to our peeps. So, and he just gifted 10 on the impromptu one I did on Friday. So thank you, Harrison. All the money that you guys do donate towards the show goes straight directly back into the show. It doesn't go into our pockets, anything like that. So if you're new to what we're doing, you're like, oh, these guys are just on a money grab. I promise you we're not. It just goes back into what we're doing. So thank you, Harrison, very much. And everybody that got one, congrats. And make sure you guys thank Harrison. So go ahead, Banning. What's your question?
Hey, Sean, we talk about this also with a lot of people, and Eric and I even talk offline about it, is during that hiring process, that ever so important hiring process, whatever they call it in Florida, professional standards, internal affairs, maybe having a part of it in the background, or just CID, is I know we have checks and balances. We got to make sure this guy hasn't had a parking ticket or parked in a handy. I get that.
Yeah.
But can he or she that's looking to get hired carry a friggin' conversation and not be a rock? Communication is a two-way street, especially when we're going out to calm things down, especially when we're there to wear millions of hats. And I'm starting to see, and I'm sure it's always been there, but towards the end of my career, we're starting to hire these people that just act based on the book, more of a robotic. And I saw it in the beginning too, but it started to get a little bit more up here to where it's just
checking boxes.
That's fine on some aspects of the career, but you've got to be able to carry a conversation. It's got to go both ways so you can properly de-escalate when it's time. And we've been doing de-escalation in law enforcement before it was a popular freaking hashtag. And it's I believe good cops, and I hate to even use that terminology, de-escalate very well because they can talk, they can carry a conversation, and they don't just wear that uniform and badge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely, I certainly agree. And I think that the problem, at least in Florida, that we're facing is there's serious shortages. There's retention issues, especially at agencies like mine. And, like people, look, we average probably 15 calls a day for service at my agency, which, is pretty high. And it's a meat grinder. It's a tough place to be a cop. And so a lot of these younger guys go to get certified and then jump ship. And I think that the hiring process gets really watered down and they skip those parts where it's, having a conversation. They're just kind of how did let's score his answer as opposed to let me just talk to you and make sure that you're, somebody that can work with a few other guys in any given zone for 12 hours a night or day. And I do think that part is important. I think that something that we have to do, not to pivot too much into the politics here, but we need to do better, I think, by our law enforcement. And that cannot be a platitude. I think part of the problem is this. You have Republicans, and I'm going to call Republicans out because they're the ones that always like to say, I back the blue. Well, how do you back the blue? What does that mean? What does that mean? Okay, fine. You support law enforcement. I see the thin blue line sticker that you post, or you have it on your car. But beyond that, how do you, as a lawmaker, support law enforcement? And so I look at a state like Florida, and look, Governor DeSantis has been probably the best governor the state has ever seen. And he has done things to support law enforcement, both in hiring practices and with some law. We got House Bill 1 back in 2021, which enhanced our rioting laws. Maybe you guys have seen some of these teen takeovers that have happened. Clearwater Beach had one a couple of months ago, and these teen takeovers are really just riots. It's like 300 or 400 teenagers, mostly black, getting together and causing complete shooting guns and causing mayhem. A kid got shot at the last one, and so he gave us these tools to do the job better, and he even instituted a statewide $5,000 hiring bonus for newly certified officers who get hired. And I think that's a great thing. I think we can do better though. that's kind of, and I know we're going to pivot to it in a little bit, but that's sort of like why I'm doing this, and how I got involved with James Fishback, in that I believe that if you want to truly make law enforcement better, you need to recruit better, and to recruit better, you have to offer better.
Okay, so I'm not going to push back on what you said. Let me give you some perspective on something I would like to see some politicians start doing, rather than, and I'm not saying you're doing this, I'm just saying, like, when people say I back the blue, quit blindly backing the blue. Hold your police departments accountable. If you're asking for more money, show
How are you
me
spending that money?
How are you spending that money?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. What are you doing with it? What problems are you addressing with the money that you have? Don't just buy yourself toys because the SWAT boys want some fucking toys.
Or not even that. I mean, there's some instances they're not buying things that have any use or value. I mean, we got these stupid things a couple of years ago. It was called Dragon. Maybe you guys have heard of it. You get the software on your laptop, and basically, it'll dictate your whole report.
Yeah.
So
the
look, I
Dragon
mean,
Dictate. I'm sorry, I was thinking of something else. Shadow
okay,
Dragon.
Dragon Dictate.
Yeah.
So listen, like, first of all, those were thousands of dollars per one. I don't know how they could cost so much. Everything is so marked up because they know the government's buying it. But like, I'm sorry. I mean, I used it a couple of times because there was like a prototype for it that one of the FTOs had, and I got to like check his out. And all I could think was, I have no trouble like typing my report. I can type it very quickly. There's a million ways you could spend this money better. And when we got it on a grant. Okay, well, why don't you apply for a grant that's not spending money on stuff like this? Because it's just a waste of money. And so I agree. When you say we're going to back the blue, to me, look, let's just dive in, I guess, since we're on this path. What my vision is, if I get to become the 22nd Lieutenant Governor of the state of Florida, is, James has asked me to lead public safety and to oversee what FDLE does. I want to get in there and audit these agencies. And some of the biggest agencies we have are Broward County Sheriff's Office, Orange County Sheriff's Office, Palm Beach Sheriff's Office. What I can tell you, what I know from being on the ground with these guys, is people are flocking to places like PBSO, Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, and they're leaving Broward like in mass. Really? And dude, there's an exit. Sheriff Tony is very disliked by deputies on the ground. He's overwhelmingly unpopular. I respect Governor DeSantis' decision to appoint a Democrat sheriff there in that county, because that is a very Democrat county. The problem is, though, the experiment failed. This guy is, for lack of better words, I'm not going to start name calling, but he is overwhelmingly unliked as a sheriff. Yeah. And so, that's probably the first agency I would want to personally audit, because by and large, it's not about helping command staff. And I think that a lot of guys, and I know you're going to ask me about this in a bit, but I think a lot of guys with police background, when they become politicians, it's because they did their 30 years. And so their last 20 years, they've completely forgotten what being police officers. They sat up in their desk with their shiny brass on, and they were a major or a captain or a chief, and they did nothing over the last 20 years. And so they've got no idea what it's like to police today in 2026, or for that matter, what it's been like to police for the last decade. And so that's not the kind of guy I'm going to be. If I could swear back in after becoming lieutenant governor, I would, but I can't hold two offices at once. So I intend to get into these agencies and audit them. Broward County Sheriff's Office gets $1 billion a year. How are you spending that money? I want to know how you're spending that money, because I believe a lot of it is waste.
One of our guys asked, why is he unliked?
So there's plenty of controversy that surrounds Sheriff Tony. Everybody's got a background, and I'm not here to kind of nitpick on anybody's background, because nobody is going to be perfect or squeaky clean. And I think everybody that's in this world understands that. He's unliked, though, because he doesn't go to bat heavily for his deputy. The number one thing I can say is this: the backbone of any agency is the road. The most officers at any agency is going to be your patrol guys, is going to be your road. And so when you're not providing, I think, the best opportunity maybe for these guys, there's going to be some, morale is low at a place like Broward County Sheriff's Office. Look, people that get promoted quickly, get fast-tracked, are the kind of people that, a lot of women fast-track, a lot of pretty girls fast-track at Broward County Sheriff's Office. It's not merit-based, it doesn't seem. And so I've heard that complaint probably 15 times. Okay. Hey, man, I've been busting my ass. working with the CST, working with a crime suppression team, like their jump out unit, and why aren't I getting moved up? Or why aren't I making detective? Why aren't I going to the DB? And so I think that it's a combination of benefits. Pay is not very great, and I don't think you should do this job for pay, by the way. But I think when the pay is sort of the lowest in the area, or it's pretty low, you're not really incentivized. I don't think to stay at a place where you're pretty much not well appreciated. And then Sheriff Tony will do these things where like I mean, there's like so phony. Like he posts these things on Instagram of like, I'm going on a run with my deputies.
Oh, he's
And
doing
it's
the
like,
propaganda stuff.
yeah, he's doing propaganda, So it's like, man, internally, everyone's so unhappy with what you're doing, but you go out and do
Right.
propaganda. And so people that aren't here think you're doing a good job. It's like, man, be like, I don't know, be like Sheriff Grady Judd up in Polk, who like goes out to when these guys get arrested on good 18 arrests, on good felony arrests, and he goes out there and like makes the video and like congratulates the officer and says like, as the sheriff, the deputy, and he'll be like, this asshole's going to jail tonight. Like, dude,
I have some problems with some of that stuff. And two of my problems with Grady is, one, he's against body cameras.
Body cams, I know. It's weird.
That drives me insane.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. And then two, the integrity of a case. That worries me. When you go out and you're like, we just freshly caught this shit bag. And I'm like, bro, the case hasn't even been filed yet. Like, you gotta let this stuff run. You can't, like, that's a serious thing. You could fuck up an investigation. Now,
you could.
I'm talking about Texas. I know how Texas runs. So I worry, like, I don't know how Florida runs, so I could be talking out of my ass.
You could.
Florida.
I think, like, when he does it though for like tens, I mean, look, the state doesn't treat tens very seriously, to be honest. So like when he does it for like, yeah, you shouldn't go do that on like a good trafficking arrest or anything like serious. I agree. You shouldn't do that on anything. If you have a nice case on something serious, you shouldn't do that. But I think that, a little bit goes a long way. Like, I'll tell you guys this right now. I can't remember more than maybe 2 times in the whole time I was at the city of Lauderhill where a major or deputy chief came into roll call and was like, hey, Sean, hey, Will, like, hey, guys, like, get out there tonight. Like, none of that.
And that's
it was
crazy,
like,
because you're small. I mean, compare like where I'm at, like there's 2,000 of us, and I know there's larger departments out there, and I'm just like, and I see my chief every so often, and my, I feel like I have a good leadership where I'm at, but
that's good.
So, but to your point though, like, how insane is that? Like, as small as you are, like you
can't walk down the hall to roll call and say like, hey guys, have a good shift tonight, be safe.
Yeah.
Let me know if you need anything. Like, never.
Right. And
I
like
can tell you that affects morale.
Where I'm at, it's 355 square miles. We, where my chief is in a completely different side of town.
Right.
And
we're in the same building.
Yeah, not same building. Yeah, that's crazy. Banning looks like he's chomping. Say it, buddy. Say what you got.
When I hear these stats and statistics, and Sean, just so you're aware, I worked at a medium-sized like yours municipal agency for an entire career. Retired, moved out here to BFE, Texas, to where we had over 900 square miles and one deputy on that could take over an hour running code to get to a domestic, while the dispatcher's calling to wake up another deputy or to see if there's a state trooper, game warden, or police officer to maybe come help if they're not too busy showing the Boy Scouts how to tie knots at whatever. And maybe they can help us with this domestic with weapons. And sometimes you were just left on your own to go to these. And it made me miss the municipality so much and the training that we received there to being thrown out here in the middle of nowhere. Felt like you're out in the desert with no training other than your annual, here's 50 rounds. You're going to go before a fire and you're going to shoot paper that doesn't move. And this would be instruction.
So if I were to give just one thing you need to know about Banning, his name is Banning Sweatland. That's not like a porn name. So that is his actual fucking Texas name. One of his best friends is Houston Gas. That's his name. So Texas is its own weird bird as an outsider living here now. And Banning is also 300 pounds, 6'2", and can wrestle a bull to the ground by himself. So that's why he's able to go out there and handle those calls by himself, because I would never be able to do it. I'm too big of a sissy. But my point being, Sean, one of the things that we like to do here is we're trying to improve law enforcement. And we're trying to improve public perception. You're going to possibly be in a role that you can do this. So if I were to talk on behalf of our community here, because you can see a lot of my community really holds cops accountable. They're very anti-bad cop. Body cameras. I would push for an entire state of, mandatory body cameras. Like you tell me, you were a cop. I was panicked if I forgot my camera in my office or something like that. Like if I left it on the charging dock, I'm like, oh fuck. And I would immediately go, I wouldn't handle a call without it. Like
I would be safe, so we used body worn, so it's a little different than Axon. And the complaint that we always had was and we did 12s, and I worked a lot of 18-hour days
that battery
because
wouldn't
we were
last,
short.
would it?
So that wouldn't last. So like I had a few use of forces. And first of all, just so everybody's clear, I've never had a questionable or bad use of force. I've been cleared, and all my blue team reports are all good. But I had a few use of force reports where I'm like heading to a call, and you don't always know when it's going to break bad, but sometimes you kind of get that
You get the
feeling that
feeling.
it could. Yeah. So I go over the air, and I would say, hey, 43, just have the Delta unit be advised that my BWC is 10-7. My body camera's dead. And I would say that like just to be clear that I'm going into a situation where I don't have my body camera because it's dead.
But you
And
were
I didn't like that.
on
Yeah,
dispatch.
and
You're transparent. That's good.
yes, yeah.
That's
And I
good
didn't like not having it because, yeah, you're right. It's a good habit to have. And I just, like you said, I mean, what I'll tell everybody now is I think every good cop feels this way. The body cameras do more to protect the officer than they do to expose whatever else is going on. Like anybody
100%.
that's doing the job correctly is never going to have a problem wearing a body camera.
Yeah, I agree. And then, dude, I mean, I think we're kind of hitting the nail on the head tonight about where's this fucking money going?
Yeah.
You see the defund movement that happened. Obviously, that didn't fucking work. Like you see that every place that happened, the department, they're still recovering because of the mass exodus. The officers.
Those West Coast ones are. I don't even know what they're going to do. I mean, geez.
Right. So that didn't work, and I kind of made I made a video. I do this I call it the gray area. And I made a whole thing about the defund movement. And I talked about every problem that you have with law enforcement cannot be solved without money. So if we're going to fix these problems, one of the big things is that accountability on where this money's going. And I think one of our biggest failures, and this is Banning, I'm going to ask him the question. Other than the academy, Sean, how much constitutional training did you get after the academy?
Oh, I'm through my agency.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's practically none. I mean, any training. Yeah, any training that I did as an officer. I mean, I was on our TAC team. We didn't have a SWAT team in my city, so we had what was called QRF, Quick Response Force. It was our like tactical team. So I was on that, and like that stuff they put you through. Obviously you got additional training there, and there was additional constitutional training there. But like again, that was like I signed up to that. I got to be on that. I got assigned that unit. There's no more like case law though, or I mean nothing. Like there's not even like mandatory weapons training, like other than you qualifying. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
actually embarrassing. I mean, and the money, that's how the money should be getting spent. I mean, you should be quarterly, your guy should be mandated to go shooting. The taser qualification they do once a year. I've seen people not know how to use their taser, and it's the easiest device to use. Like you should be doing that maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Like what's sickening is they have the money, they're just not spending it on these things. They'd rather not waste cartridges. They'd rather not waste money on training ammo or range days if your agency doesn't have their own range. That's all an expense, right? And so I think that the way that they spend the money is the worst part. Look, I drove my last car was a 2018 Ford Taurus with 10 or 15,000 miles on it, and
Banning
the biggest. The chief complaint of my agency was cars. Because especially you would look at agencies surrounding us, and it's like, man, everybody has like basically a new car. And I know this is going to vary like state by state and agency by agency, but in South Florida, where its population is very dense, and so we were a city of 80,008 square miles, right? So like that's a dense place to be a cop. Why is it? I knew guys. I knew guys with expired vests. Their vest was expired.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So like that's what I mean. Like,
yeah, me
what's
too.
happening? What's what are we doing?
Did we lose him?
No one should ever have a. You good?
Oh, there he is. Okay, you're back. Yeah, you froze for a second.
Oh,
not only was mine expired, Mine was 16 years old.
You're Kevlar.
And it still had a bullet lodged in it.
It was the first. It was the first one that you could have that roll-up technology. That was
Yeah.
It was only out for, it was less than 36 months because a third party started testing it, and they're like, 22 long rifle just went through that. We need to bring it back to that. We need to bring it back.
Swiss cheese if anybody blows on you.
So yeah, I'm right there. The equipment needs to be taken care of. First of all, we have to have good people sitting in those seats. That's the number one thing. Law enforcement has got to have a good person there, and then we can stack on the right equipment. Because if you start mixing that shit around, you get what we have now in some parts of the country, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, I think if we're going to solve a lot of the, I call them the minor major problems, because that's what ends up happening. It's not guy has a gun, officers shoot, and that's a bad problem. Like that, any high risk, crazy situation, it seems like cops for the most part do a decent job across the nation. So what we fuck up is little things. When I take my phone and I'm like, fuck you, pig. And all of a sudden a cop loses his goddamn mind.
And swats the phone out of his hand.
Phone out of his hand. Put your hands behind your back. Oh, I'm going to waste your time now. Let me see your ID. I'm like, bro, like that's such an easy thing to deal with. And you just completely turned a little molehill into a fucking Mount Everest. And I'm like, why is that? One, it's ego. Ego is something we actually put an ego class on in Alive, because at my department, we teach an ego class to our recruits so they can recognize. It's not if you want it, let me know. And you can use it as a campaign thing in Florida.
Yeah. I'd be interested in it, actually. Yes.
Because we want everybody to learn from it. But the point being is, it isn't so much that, hey, cops have fucking egos because we're all alphas. Like, that's kind of a given. The job attracts alphas. It is what it is.
Yeah, of course.
But the point is knowing when you switch from that logic and reasoning side of your brain, your frontal lobe, and switch to an emotional, ego-based response where you're in that, you can't tell me I'm wrong. They get defensive, and that needs to be taught. And we've actually created a class on that where we're at. So I'm trying to get that spread out there. And then the Constitution. You go up to any cop and you're like, give me the first five, give me 5 elements of the First Amendment. And they're like, freedom of speech, and freedom of press. And then after that, they kind of lose it. So we need to have not just constitutional training in the academy. It needs to be continuous. It needs to be semi-annual. I don't know how you're going to, it's pretty easy to do. But
look, I agree with that entirely. I mean, that bad complaint I told you about, that supervisor who was ordering a bad arrest, she didn't understand the difference between, and this woman was a detective before she became a sergeant. She didn't understand the difference. I'm not exaggerating or being funny, between a witness and hearsay. She wanted me to enter a third party who had heard the story from
through the grapevine.
He wanted me to enter that as witness testimony. I'm like, I cannot do that. Like, what are you talking about? So, it's just like stuff like that. It's dangerous. And I agree, because look, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have, and obviously you guys have a lot more experience than I do, but I think you're going to agree with me immediately. You're going to have I'm not saying dirty cops. I'm saying bad officers get promoted, like we've all seen. And now these bad officers who get promoted into supervisor roles are the ones telling rookies who don't know anything what they're supposed to be doing. And now those bad habits are immediately ingrained in these people. And like maybe 1 out of 10, if you're lucky, gets out of that alive. But mostly they're not going to, because again, you see stripes, you see bars, and you're like, this person knows everything. I got to listen to them. And now that way of policing and that way of thinking is just spread throughout your whole agency. And before you know it, it's a regional problem. And look, to Banning's point, you need to get.
Oh,
did we lose him?
I think we lost him. I think he froze up. We'll have to remember he said, to Banning's point.
Yeah, that's right. That's the last part I heard him on too.
Yeah. We'll give him another second. See if he Oh, there he is. He's back.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing we heard you said was to address Banning's point.
Okay, perfect. So to address Banning's point, you need to get good people in seats. So it's not just about fixing the spending and getting all the best equipment. Just if that's no good if all you're going to do is have bad officers in a brand new Tahoe or an Expedition, right? Like that's not helpful. And so I think that look, my vision is kind of multi-parted, right? Yeah, the internet did strike again. My vision is obviously multifaceted here in that James Fishback is serious about addressing the law enforcement concern in the state of Florida. And when I say the law enforcement concern, it's not just people who have trouble with law enforcement. It's not law enforcement having trouble with the job they're currently doing. It's everything. And so where I come in is, like I said to you guys earlier, I'm not some guy that sat behind a desk for the last 15 years. I literally was arresting people, 8 months ago. And so I think the idea would be this. You have to do two things at once. You have to audit the county. You have to audit the agency. You have to audit the prosecutor. You have to audit the state attorney's office. You have to figure out what everybody's doing in this county, right? I want to know what's your pros rate, what's your trial rate, because we have 94% pros. Well, why are you only going to trial less than prosecute? Why are you only going to a trial less than 22% of the time? You kills a guy who's picked up for possession with intent for the fourth time this year, and he's somehow bonding out and getting probation again. And so I have to figure out what's the problem here. How are we failing our community in that sense? And a problem, you'll have a morale. It's not overnight, by the way. You will be able to boost morale because the people that say, and not all of them, but the people that say, "Oh, Lozano, why do you show up to work and chase people all night long? Because they're just going to get out of jail in 3 days." Some of those people, A, they're not going to have that excuse to fall back on, but B, some of those people really do believe that, and that won't be something that like wears you down. Like you don't see the same scumbag. Like you'll finally get, hey, your guy got sentenced to 3 years or whatever in prison, as opposed to the old, he got 3 months probation again. And like you get those letters in your mailbox and you're like, what's the point? And so I think that when you fix the state attorney issue, when you have a strong SAO with that wants to work with the law enforcement in that county, I think that's a great place to start. I think it's also auditing the county from the top down. Some of these city managers in these counties are making unbelievable money. The city manager in the city of Lauderhill, which is, like I said, where I policed, that's an impoverished city, is making almost $300,000 a year, where most people in that city are on some kind of government assistance. So how is it this man is making almost $300,000 a year when most of your city is impoverished? It doesn't even make sense.
No.
We have to cut waste and bloat like that. This guy, I can't even tell you what he does. I'm not sure what he does all day long, but it's not enough to earn $300,000. I can tell you that. So I think that when you start addressing those problems, you can start to figure out how to. You have to address this though, and I know I'm going on a whole rant, but you have to address the hiring practices.
Oh, you're
like, look, from top to bottom, you're letting people get through the academy that don't meet the fitness requirements. But hey, no child left behind, so we're letting them graduate the academy. They're, like you said, during COVID, virtual academies.
Right.
Then you go to FTO. I've seen people in FTO, they have no business getting through their FTO. And yet the agency doesn't want to let them go because, hey, we have a shortage and we need we need a warm body in the seat. And so they sign off. And so it's like, you have to fix it from the beginning, the hiring practice, all the way through, and that person gets signed off and gets cut loose to go police on their own. So, I think it's a long process, but you have to attack each part of it.
Yep. King Pomegranate said, just auditing isn't enough. Who you use to audit then matters. I would say that's fair. So let me throw an idea your way since you got on the prosecution side, because that's one of my favorite things to pick at is drones. They're a new thing, right, in law enforcement. And I'm a big proponent of drones. I actually helped start our drone program where I'm at. I'm real big into them. I got my 107. I can fly them. It's an awesome tool, but it requires so much. You got a lot of training you got to go through. You have all these things. And one of the big pushes to get the trust from the community is being transparent and accountable. So the way that we solve that problem with our community anyway, is we have a website. And that website shows when you flew, where you flew, shows the path of the drone, tells you who the operator was, tells you what case number it belonged to. So if that drone flew over your house and you're like, I want to make sure they weren't looking in my backyard, you got an easy website to go to, and you can do a FOIA request on the drone footage.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing, right?
Yeah, I would
So,
agree.
so why the fuck can't we do that with caseload for a prosecutor? Get a website. Here's the cases that this prosecutor got. Here's all the ones that they went after. Here's the ones that they pled out. But guess what they need to put in there? Why? Why for whatever it was. You know, they got a conviction on this case. Okay, I don't need a why. You went after the case. But if you dismissed it or if you pled it down, I want a why. Why did you do that?
And to listen to that, just not to interrupt Sean on his answer, list the elements of the offense. Was the elements of the offense met from the original case officer who made the arrest? Yes or no? Okay. And then now give us a reason on why it wasn't taken. Was the person given an OR bond? Why were they given an OR bond to get out of friggin' jail on an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon?
Yep.
Let's track that stuff down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty bad.
I think the
100%.
courts lack a huge accountability that's about. I think in the next 10 to 20 years is going to slap them across the face as hard as cops getting body cameras was for cops, because that was like a huge push and everybody's like, well, how are we going to pay for, it just was counter to the culture at the time.
Yeah.
And now, like I said, now cops can't imagine leaving the fucking department and leaving their shop without it. Like me, so I think that is the next type of wake up call. So somebody in your position, if you are the one that gets to start making decisions and doing things like that, I think that would be a huge step.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And my thought on that is, was his name Kevin who asked that, or King Pomegranate who asked, who said it's not just about auditing, it's about who audits. And I agree. I mean, no more of these silly internal audits like, oh, we checked and we didn't do anything wrong. Okay,
we checked ourselves, we investigate ourselves, and we found no wrongdoing.
It's all good. Yeah, that doesn't count. That's not good enough. And so I think that when you show up, like Banning said, you show up and say, show me I want to see the last 50 cases that you had. And it is as simple as, were the elements met, yes or no? And if so, why did they get pled out? Why didn't you prosecute? I'm going to go back to these teen takeovers. So you said your brother-in-law was with Clearwater Beach. So about a month or so ago, we had maybe a month and a half ago, James and I had a press conference for one of these teen takeovers where a 17-year-old kid was shot. I want to say 5 or 6 times. Again, they call them teen takeovers. That's what the media likes to call them, but we call them riots because that's what they are. And something like 3 or 4 dozen of the people that were involved, maybe they made like 20 arrests on that one, right? Maybe like 3 or 4 dozen could have been picked up for a fray, which fine. But the 20 or so that they pick up, almost none of them were charged with felony rioting, despite the officer writing PC for rioting. And they go down to jail when they get processed. The SAO, the prosecutor, says, we'll drop it down to a fray. Why? The elements were there for rioting. So why do they get a lesser charge? I mean, you should have to explain it. If you want to use discretion as a police officer, obviously you can use discretion, right? But if somebody were to ask, if my sergeant were to ask me, why didn't you want to make the arrest, or why do you want to, blah, 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 I should be able to answer that question, right? Oh, well, because X, Y, and Z. One time I avoided a citation I gave this guy, and this is a much lesser extent, but I avoided a citation I gave this guy because I was like moving quick, and I was like not in a bad mood, but like I was just like moving fast, right? And I take his license and stuff, and I go back to my car, and I just like typed out the thing real quick. And as I'm going right back over to him, he's like, "Man, it is my fault, I know," but like he had like all this stuff going on in his life, right? And like I said, we're human, we're people, right? So I was like, man, like I'm gonna avoid this for you because I should have spoken to you for a minute instead of just taking your stuff and go back to my car. And I want to be a normal person and do what I can to exercise discretion. And my sergeant did ask, "Hey, why are you putting a void slip in my box?" And I explained, I'm like, what? I wrote the ticket a little too quick. I should let the guy talk to me. Yeah, he committed the infraction, but I have the opportunity to exercise this discretion. But when the SAO is exercising essentially discretion by dropping charges, by making charges lesser than what they are, the only person you're helping, first of all, is the criminal who broke the law. And second of all, in some of these instances, there's not a necessary victim. The state's the victim. So, fine, you want to be, oh, we're the victim, so we're going to do less. We can. But in some cases where there is a legitimate victim, who, they're a victim to this crime. Why do we ask? Why do we say this? Oh, have sympathy, have empathy for this criminal. Where's the empathy for the victim in this crime? Why do we always say, oh, don't be cruel to to this person? Yeah, they made a mistake, but don't be cruel. What about the victim in this crime? Did they get that opportunity?
Yeah, I specialized in property crimes. That was like one of my big strengths when I was out there running
21s and such.
Yeah, and so one of the things that drove me nuts was hearing other cops, even not to mention prosecutors and whatnot, when a target would get, I get shoplifting at a target.
I already know what you're gonna say. Yep,
and they're
like, $1 billion company.
Yeah, they got insurance for this. Get the fuck out of here. What does that got to do with anything? What if you're a mom and pop store? They started that way. Like they just weren't a big conglomerate or whatever, but now because they're good at what they did and they got this chain, they suddenly no longer have the same victimness that everybody else has. Like that's fucking crazy to me.
No, you have to accept shrink. You have to accept things are going to be stolen. Like, no, I don't have to accept that.
No, not at all. Like you stealing it. I mean, not that I'm a huge religious guy. I mean, it goes all the way back to biblical times. You don't steal people's shit. It's in the Ten Commandments,
Sure.
So if it goes back that far, then no, you don't get to do this. Oh, they got insurance. It's no big deal. Like, come on, man. Like stealing is stealing. I cannot stand thievery. And that's why I took it so serious. And I used to rub it in our homicide guys, a couple that I was buddies with anyway. I'd be like, homicide's easy. Like most of the time you already know who the fuck it is. Like you already have likely suspects. You have connections. You got all that. It's like, why don't you go solve a property crime? Go solve a BMV with no leads. Like, let me see you find the bad guy that way. Like that's detective work.
And you're right. I mean, especially like a 21 in a vehicle. Yeah. Like that's a tough with no leads or nothing. If there's no video footage, like that is a tough, like if you didn't have any video footage when the 21 occurred, you're right. You got a case. I mean, you have to hope he just keeps doing it basically. Right. My game was narcotics. I loved
hold on.
I love making drug arrests.
Hold that thought because I have a video pulled up of you in action, sir. So
here we go.
Let me the video you sent me actually did not work. I need some extra permission to use it. So I found this one on Instagram and I thought it was a great video.
You found it. All right.
So we're gonna play this one. All right, let's make sure it's not muted. All right, we're good there and go.
I'll smoke you, motherfucker! Walk back this way. Boss, don't. You are way too close to try and run. Okay, have a seat.
Just keep it in your hand. Don't even try to touch it up. Keep it in your hand.
Okay, so we're going to kind of do this like we do a body cam breakdown banning. Sean doesn't know this, but one of the things that we do on here is we'll do body cam breakdowns where we pretend we're the officer in the body cam. So right away, I hear the officer, which happens to be Sean, saying like, you're way too close to be trying to run. So that tells me this officer, Sean, already had an inkling in his head that this guy may try to rabbit. Like there was something he was giving as indicators that he was going to try to run. And rightfully so. I would agree. I think you had all of that right. And I will say that this man that you're with is a fucking specimen. Jesus Christ. Look at his arm.
Yeah, he's 10-8 cop. 10-8 cop right there.
That is, he's got a little wisdom in his beard like me. I like
it. He does.
So can you give us a little background of what you're doing here? Obviously, this looks like it's the back of a convenience store where a lot of people like to use dope, which is an easy place to go spot. So what do you got here?
So what's funny is actually this is butted up right up against an apartment complex called Calypso K. It's off of State Road 7 in Lauderhill. The reason why we were here, this guy's a detective with the street crimes unit, and I worked with them like twice a week. I did work with them. I was waiting to get promoted into that unit, so I worked with them twice a week basically because they were short. Everybody's short. So they're like, hey, we can't promote Lozano yet, but you can have him twice a week essentially. So we're out because there was like 6 shootings in this apartment complex that's like just in the background of it. Like you can see it just past Ray's shoulder. There's like 6 shootings that happened there in like the last 4 to 8 hours. So like, hey, the set team's got to get out there and just have some presence so we can like deter this nonsense, right? It was a gang dispute that was going on, but they just wanted like if police are there, maybe they're going to be less inclined to be stupid. So we're out there, we're walking around, and we had our presence. And I got into like a short foot pursuit with some guy who like he saw me coming from a mile away. I just wanted to again, just say, look, we're out here doing our thing. The circus is in town. So we're getting ready to leave, and I'm like, man, hey, why don't we just hit the marathon real quick to see if we can get lucky? Like, let's see if there's something back here. And we do. That's me walking up here, and evidently we did get lucky. So
nice. Okay, so we're gonna keep going.
Walking through this way, sir. That's crazy. What I do? You just see me coming through that way, like.
Don't stop crushing it up. I ain't gonna tell you again.
With the ground.
So I can hear the officer saying something to the effect of "Stop crushing it up." So I'm imagining you guys, you're not just stopping and detaining them for no reason. You already got an on-view offense of some sort. That's what I'm hearing. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, the original stop is for LMP, for just where they're at, and it's a known narcotics place to use narcotics. So that was an easy quick detention real quick, just figure out what these people are doing hanging out back here. They weren't walking around. This guy's clearly sitting, so it's not like you're just traveling in between. You're sitting back here, and so I want to know what this guy's doing back here at this time. And yes, he is my partner there notices that he's like crushing something up. He's got something in his hand. It was like a white powdery substance in a what appeared to be a rolling tobacco leaf.
Okay. All right. So we'll hit play again.
It ain't just tobacco.
I just literally walked through this way.
What's that white stuff that's in there? It's just tobacco. Since you want to play this.
Yeah, what's that white stuff? Tobacco is white, huh? That must be a new kind of tobacco. Oh, okay. I didn't tell you to drop it, did I? What are you doing?
So for people watching, a lot of times people will try to disconnect themselves with incriminating things in any way that they can. And this guy's doing it in some of the most obvious ways possible.
Yeah.
He's doing it right in front of the officer. So what's going through my head, if there's dope involved, this is a common place for people to deal dope, by the way, guys. I used to most of the people on here know that I did try to go into the dope game a little bit when I first became an officer, and then realized like I felt like I was just cutting the head off the snake that was just going to grow two heads afterwards. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And so and then honestly in Texas it kind of scares me because the higher up you get in the dope game, now you start messing with cartels. I'm not about that life. I'm not trying to get because if it was just me, it's one thing, but it involves my family. Like it's too deep for me. So anyway, looking at this, so far it seems like the detainment, everything seems legit. I'm not seeing any issues. They've obviously you've got your on-view offense. So now from here, what I would be doing is one by one, each person's going to get detained. I'd stand them up. I'd put them in cuffs, pat them down real quick, because like you said, you just had 6 shootings in 48 fucking hours. That is insane. And that is a common gang beef issue. I've seen it where I'm at, so it's not uncommon. And I think you guys are handling things the right way so far.
Do me a favor, hop up. Stand up, put your hands behind your back.
I like this. And let me tell you guys why I like this. He told him to stand up, and the guy didn't. He hesitated. That is a cue for me. That is a red flag.
Yeah.
And I've told you guys before on here, if we hesitate, we end up using a higher use of force later. And we don't want that. So sometimes you just take control and it looks harsh at the beginning when really all we did was use a little bit of joint manipulation, get this guy's hands behind his back. That's way better than it turning into a knockdown drag out because we hesitate. The guy builds up his confidence, and then all of a sudden we're in a shit show.
Yep.
So I'm going to keep. You got anything to add, Banning? I want to make sure I don't cut you off, brother. All right.
What are you being stupid for, man?
So what did he do there? Did he just go limp?
He just went limp. He just I have his hands on his back. I'm getting ready to reach down to grab my cuffs. And as soon as I let one of my hands go, he just leans forward and falls forward. So that's why I said, what are you being stupid for? And now this next frame, you're going to see what I would say was a mistake on my part. But you can go ahead and just play.
All right. So, in my experience, Banning, you probably the same. When they do weird things like that, like just let their body weight, they're still trying to.
He's figuring out how to get out.
They're trying to disconnect themselves from something. They usually that's how I see it. Or they're trying to go rabbit. So let me see.
Put your hands behind your back. Quit being stupid.
Yes, please.
Lean forward. Stand up. Yo. Keep your hands behind your back.
I would have cuffed him on his knees.
Yep. That's the mistake. I immediately after, by the way, I like when this was all said and done, I realized right there I should have cuffed him. I had him now on the ground. I did not have to stand him up. I just instinctively, I think I just stood him up. But yeah, I should have cuffed him on his knees while he was just laying on his face.
Yeah, it happens. It's that I've done dumb stuff before too.
Mm-hmm.
I put a guy against a wall before to cuff to start searching him, and he pushed off of it, which he had leverage to knock me on my ass. So that was a mistake on my part. Why did I do it? Because I had never really cuffed or searched anybody next to a wall. It's usually by my patrol car or something to that effect, and it's what they do in the movies. No one ever trained me to do it. I just fucking did it because I was like, well, so they put your hands up on the wall.
That was you do, right?
Yeah, it was dumb. And the dude took advantage of it and bolted, and I didn't get him. He got away from me. So
damn.
Yeah. We ended up getting him later, but yeah, he got away from me. Is what it is. All right, let's keep going.
Oh, mother, you're gonna taste.
Dude, you got that taser out fucking quick. That was legit.
I was good with my taser, man. I used it a lot.
That was legit. That was that was fast.
It's a good tool.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going. I can see your dots. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse here, but the other dot is hiding behind Banning. So
yeah.
Don't move! I'll shoot you!
I got caught in my line there.
Oh, is that okay? So you got tased yourself a little bit there.
Yeah. So when I said I started walking forward toward him, and the line just like caught my the exposed part of my ankle, and I just felt like the really quick. Like I kicked it off me, but it was like a second.
Gotcha. So I will say I understand why you drew your gun. He was digging. He was when he was running. He was trying. He's probably trying to pull his fucking pants up to get away, but you don't know that in the fucking moment. So you got your gun out, and then we see the rest from here. So I'll just play.
Don't reach for anything. Don't reach. I'll fucking smoke you, mother.
Good work. I like that. So for those that get pissed off about harsh language and all of that shit, there has to be a purpose behind that type of language. And the purpose behind it is so they understand this is basically the last thing I can do to show you how serious I am so I don't have to use force. So it's different. He didn't sit there where I'm okay with it is where you're like, you piece of shit, motherfucker. Like, I don't like when we degrade people. But when I tell you, like, don't fucking move before I make your head a canoe, like, I'm trying to implore to you that the next thing that's going to happen is the use of force that I don't want to happen. And it's a last ditch effort. So I'm okay with stuff in this instance. And like you said, having the background and the context of knowing they just had 6 shootings in 48 hours. You got people using dope, being evasive, trying to run in a very high crime, violent area. Everything fits. I'm okay with it. So I got no issues.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's the totality of circumstances, right? It's where we're at. It's a high crime area. And when I say that, I'm sure you guys both caught that. But for anybody that didn't, when I pressed my gun to the back of his head and said what I said, he had his right hand
in his right
down his pant. He went and reached one more time, And so if he had made a really quick movement right there and jerked something look, it could have been a cell phone, but I was probably going to shoot him in the back of the head. Instead, he believed that I would kill him, and he stopped reaching. I think that my language was effective. I'm proud of the work I did there. I'm proud of the work I did in totality as a police officer. I think if more police in the state of Florida, I think if more police in general, police like that, and carried themselves with strong command presence and knew when to be that way in certain situations. I'm not, you're not going to show up to a 66 or like a
Right.
normal situation and start swearing and cursing at people but there's a time and place. Language was effective because I did not need to resort to that kind of force. And like you said, they maybe they get confidence and it ends up turning into a deadly force situation because you let them feel like they could take advantage of you. And I didn't want to get to that point. So what he was reaching for, just so you guys know, he was reaching for something. He was trying to get another bag of cocaine out so he could ditch it. That's what he's reaching for. So when I shot him with my taser, it was effective. As you see, he fell, but he managed to roll, and so the probe, the line
Came
broke on
unhinged.
the end of the probe. Yep.
Mhm.
And so he only had one probe still in him, and so he was able to regain most of his function at that point, and he rolled, and so it just went the way it went. And that's exactly why I threw my taser. Like you said, I threw my taser, drew my gun immediately because now he's reaching around, and maybe this guy is going to meet God tonight. But luckily, that's not what happened. And again, my words became effective. So
Yeah. And I think another thing that I read was they were using dope with kids right there. There was kids over there where they were using dope, right?
yeah, very
Yeah.
nearby. Yep,
Jesus.
that's
Like,
very common in Lauderhill. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. No, that was Banning. You wouldn't have caught that kid. You'd
What'd you
I
think,
would've-
Banning? What's your feedback?
No, I think it's great. Much younger in my career, I didn't get a lot of sprints.
when we were his age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I started getting older, and I had very good FTOs, most of them were anyway, and they showed me how to utilize the horsepower of a vehicle to tire people down. And
Yeah.
anyway, so I could utilize the vehicle as well, and then I wouldn't be as tired at the end of that
Yeah.
run.
And I think lessons learned, if we're going to try to teach cops how to improve and do everything. One thing I wanted you to notice what Sean did, what I noticed, you were chill. You were cool when you came up. You're just talking to him. And then you guys saw the on-view offenses. And that's when the language started to change a little bit because now they're being a little evasive and you're trying to be, hey, I see through you. Like, I understand the strategy because I was the same way. Like, bro, don't try to bullshit me. Like, if you're sitting here using a little bit of dope, I don't give a fuck. But what I do care about is what's causing the violence here. That's why we're here, dude. You know damn well there's 6 shootings that just happened. You got the one kid wearing all blue, which I do know it's Orlando Magic. So, but I don't know if that's gang related. I don't know if that was a Crip area. So, all of the things made sense. And obviously you fucked up on the cuffing. So I would have kept him on the ground just the way you had him. Got his hands behind his back. And then, but yeah, standing him up is where you fucked up, which is no big deal because you made right. You still caught him. Nobody got hurt. He got tased a little bit, but he'll be all right. We've all been there. Shit, you got bit a little bit by your own taser. So
happens.
I like some good old school police work. And that's some good old school police work. You're on foot, you're out there, you're talking amongst the people. My people on here know damn well I love some good old school police work that catches people doing some bad shit. And being out there, dope dealing is another symptom of why there's probably violence. It's probably a turf war. You got to catch that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, to kind of get into, what I said by what I meant when I said, like, look, if more officers conducted themselves in that manner, I think that we'd have less crime. And I think the problem is not, I don't think you don't need to be doing that 100% of the time, right? But the problem is the pendulum shifts, right? And you have this pendulum shift of, oh, hey guys, now we're out here to do customer service. No, we're not. We're out here to do law enforcement. And I think that this new wave of wear kid gloves and be reactive instead of proactive is wrong. You can effectively lower crime in your community, at least in your zone, if you are a proactive officer. And that's just true. I mean, look, in a 12-hour shift, if I go out there and proactively patrol my zone, is the SAO going to be harsh on them when I arrest them for 21 because I unviewed it? No, but at least now they know, hey, look, this guy is checked. He's in this area. He checks this area. He drives through this area. He walks this area, and you can have a difference, I think, in your community, in that way at least. You know, maybe the guy doesn't see the kind of punishment he's supposed to, but you can still do the job effectively, as opposed to just sit around, be lazy, watch YouTube and Netflix and wait for the calls to roll in. You don't have to wait for the calls to roll in. You can go out there and make a difference.
Yeah. And Big C, he brings up a good point. He said a lot of cops are aggressive for no reason. That's part of the problem. And I agree. When we see cops get in trouble, they're overly aggressive. It goes into the ego portion of things. And when it's done properly, I think that was a good example. What we just watched. Sean came up. He wasn't aggro at all. He was chill, talking to him like normal people. And then their behavior dictated the change. And that's where you saw the change happen. Even though he knew he was in an area where they just had 6 shootings in 48 hours. So I think that's a good point to bring up. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, I get off my thoughts when I read somebody else's thoughts. So Sean was talking about Big C was talking about being aggressive for no reason. I was going to bring up something about demeanor. Fuck, I lost the thought. It happens.
But to his point, to Big C's point of like being aggressive, I mean, I think that part of the whole aggression issue is maybe cops that are scared, or I don't know, maybe they walk in because, like you said, there were 6 shootings there in 48 hours, right? So maybe a scared officer would show up to that situation already aggressive, which could have maybe escalated it, immediately. And so I think that there's a time and place for aggression. I don't think, though, I'm not going to agree with Big C and say you should never be aggressive, because you need to use aggression sometimes, unfortunately.
I remember what I was going to say now. When we were talking about proactive policing, because I am a big fan of proactive policing. I actually just put a video out of there's some officers on this guy's channel. They did like a live PD thing, but it wasn't live PD. It was this other guy, Tommy G, I think his name is. But it was like out of something Georgia, Clayton County, Georgia. These guys are out. It's a specialized unit, and they're out doing a detail with this filming crew with them, and they fuck up a little bit. I like their proactiveness. I like what they're out there doing, but they fuck up a little bit. They go a little too quick, in my opinion, and I think they screwed up this case that you can see them making kind of an arrest on. They end up letting the guy go, but they detain him anyway. So I'm talking about the process that they use, and I'm like, I think they got the cart before the horse a little bit on this one. They should have slowed down. Yeah, it wasn't to knock them. It was one I wanted to point out. They did good proactive policing. Why was it good? And this is where I think is important when we talk about proactive policing. It has to be intelligence led. You can't just go out there and start hemming up every Joe Blow that's walking on the street just because it's 12 in the morning. Yeah. We have to be smart about it. Okay, we had 6 shootings in this area in the last 48 hours. We need to obviously go around this area during the times of those shootings and start seeing what we can see. And now we're doing a little bit of intelligent-based policing. Now, we're going out, making contact, seeing who we're talking to, seeing what the street knows, because you'll get people that'll talk, and all of that stuff. But like for me, one of the things that I would do if I was just a beat officer, I would find out from my crime analyst, hey, what problems am I having in my beat? And find out, oh, you're getting hammered by BMVs this last 2 months. Oh, shit. Okay. Where at? Oh, well, these particular areas. All right. Now I'm going to go study that area. I'm going to go look. I'm like, all right, we got street lights out over here. There's not a lot of dogs in this area. There's no convenience stores too close to this area. So shit, they're nailing this area because it's prime pickings and there's a lot of cars parked on the street. So what are they doing? They're going pulling handles. So what do I got to do? Now got to figure out that window. Oh, 2 a.m. to 4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Now I got to park my cruiser and I'm going to get out on foot. And then, I'm just going to go listen. Oh, I hear dogs fucking barking a lot down the road over there. Let me go. And that is proactive policing. It isn't random. It's intelligent. I can explain why I was there, what I was thinking, and why I did it. That's what it's all about. That is good proactive policing. But there's a lot of cops that they just think pulling over as many fucking cars as they can is proactive. And that's just not for me. I don't like that. So, now let me go down this rabbit hole here, sir. How does a fucking cop get into politics in the first place? Like, how did you you're like, I'm gonna do politics now. This is me. This is what I do. No more catching bad guys. How the fuck do I just roll into that?
You know, it's funny. I do miss being a police officer, and I said to you earlier, and I would say it publicly. You know, I'm not my dream isn't to I don't know, be a career politician. In fact, it makes me want to throw up to even say to think of myself as being a career politician. I loved being a police officer, and if for whatever reason politics did not work out, I would return to law enforcement like with joy. Um, but I think you're only as good as the circumstance that you're in, and I also definitely believe in taking advantage of opportunities that come your way. And that's true in all walks of life. Whether you're, as a police officer, I know a guy that's in motors right now, a good friend of mine who's a traffic detective, and he doesn't love it. And his passion wasn't in traffic, but the opportunity opened up for him to do it, and he's like, "Why not?" He's not too deep in his career, and that's something he gets to throw under his belt. So I do believe in taking advantage of opportunities. So I'll tell you guys sort of the story. It was about a year ago. It might have been like a year ago this week. I'm sitting in my patrol car. I noticed you guys call them shops, by the way, out there. We just call them our patrol cars. I'm sitting in my car. It's like 2 a.m. I work nights, and I just finished up an arrest, and I'm sitting here like eating my Wawa, and I'm scrolling Twitter, and I see James Fishback. He tweeted some like based thing about how he hated H-1B visas and like the immigrants that came here and like wreck our economy. And I know H-1Bs are actually a problem out there in Texas. So he like tweeted something that was like super based anti H1B, and I was like, this guy's cool, and I liked it, and I retweeted it, and I followed him, right? And we would like interact every once in a while on Twitter, and then or X, and by the time he announced his candidacy to run in November, I was like stoked. I'm like, man, wow, like we have like a solid option here for. I think most Republicans just imagined like Byron Donalds was going to be the next governor. Like 2 years ago, I think if you asked the average Republican in the state, there's like Byron Donalds, that's just the guy. But he hasn't done anything like to stand out or be like, why should I vote for you? Right? I think all he does is say like Trump endorsed me, so vote with me. It's like, all right, well, but what are you gonna do? And so here comes James Fishback, and he has all of these. He's got like all these like cornerstone like pillar things that he cared about. Like the first thing obviously was the H-1B thing, which I'm totally against H-1Bs. I think that they're a disgrace to our country, and there's good people here that should have those jobs. I think it started with the best intentions, and I'm going to actually relate that to something else a little later. You guys know well flock cameras. So, he wanted to get rid of H-1Bs in the state of Florida. He was super against these data centers, which they're trying to pop up everywhere here. We have pristine land that we should be protecting in Florida, and I don't believe that we should be, rolling out these data centers. And, he had this strong America First pitch for himself. And so I really appreciated that. And it was this option that was, again, at the time, I didn't have anything wrong with Byron Donalds. It's just he didn't tell me why I should vote for him. Just Trump endorsed me. I'm like, all right, well, there's got to be more to it than that, for me. And so I signed up to volunteer for his campaign, James Fishback, and we'd met in early January. We talked on the phone first, and then we met in person, and we worked a few events together. And he's like, man, I want you to run the county for my campaign. I want you to run Broward County for the campaign. I'm like, sure. And then he's like, as a volunteer, and he's like, can you run the region? And one of his guys like, can you run the region? I'm like, sure. I'm like, hey, James likes you. Can you run both regions? Like these two regions? I'm like, okay. I'm like getting a little like involved in this now. My friends are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm somehow like, running regions for this campaign. Next thing you know, this guy's like, I want you to come on full time and be the director of operations and treasurer for my campaign. And I was like, all right. There might be like, you have the best judgment, because I'm like, my background is literally as a police officer. Like I chase guys down and like shoot them in the back with my taser. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
He's like, no. Like the way you run my events, like we have this connection. Like I think that, I don't, because he said to me this, I don't want one of these establishment guys to run my campaign, because if they do, they're going to turn it into just what everything else always turns into. Like the slop that you see, it's like you get a guy like, look at Trump in 2016. I don't want to get off on the whole thing, but like look at Trump in 2016 and what he represented and what that turned into, right? And I'm not going to get into all that, but I think when you fill too many people into your operation that are establishment guys and they've already been doing this political thing for years, they're going to know how to turn it into their thing, and it's going to not be so much of what this grassroots thing that you started. And so I understood his point. He's like, I think you're smart. I think like law enforcement's a perfect background because my background's in finance. I don't know anything about like the law enforcement thing. Is like, I think you're going to connect more with like the blue collar guys than I can, and I want you to like running point on things. So I'm like, okay. So I worked with this campaign manager, and I started running all the events and planning things. It was like a different world for me, obviously, and I just like found myself in this world where I'm meeting with politicians and big figures in this world. Um, we were in Naples. Him and his senior advisor sit me down, and basically they were like, "Hey, look, we want you to be James's running mate." And I was just like, "What are what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm not like what I mean? Like I'm not a politician. I've never held any office. I've never ran for anything. Like, what are you talking about? I'm a 31-year-old guy who's like a cop essentially now. And like when this is all said and done, like I'm gonna go back to law enforcement. And they were like, no, no, like we want you to be his running mate. And it didn't take like long. I didn't really have to think about it. I was just like, well, yes, I'll do it if you think I'm gonna be like the best person for the job. But like I know the other names that were like in consideration, and I mean, like there's other good guys that could do this. So it was an honor, obviously, to be asked. And it made me actually realize like this guy is so serious about having like this anti-establishment uh, uh, movement, and he's also so serious about law enforcement because we would talk like he would pick my brain a lot about like what was this like or what's that like like he would ask questions like when you make an arrest, like what would happen, like just like simple stuff like civilians think about.
Yeah.
And I would just answer these questions, and he would ask me like more complicated stuff like how would you fix this, or like what would you do if you were in this position. And I would answer these questions off the top of my head, like, we're just hanging out, and I'm just giving them like because then, yeah, I just slowly but surely have been fed this idea that like, hey, I I can be a leader, I can hold statewide office, and do I know everything in the world? Obviously not. I would never pretend, I don't know everything in the whole world. But my experience as a police officer and my experience in the last 7 months, essentially running this campaign and being an integral part in this campaign, have made me realize that I can have an effect. I think in large ways, positively for public safety and law enforcement. I said it in one of my opening speeches as his running mate. I will be the strongest lieutenant governor on crime, public safety, and fraud and waste the state of Florida has ever seen, because those are the things that I'm passionate about. I intend to audit every county. I intend to get into the nitty gritty of how not just the agencies are running, but how is the local government running uh, their facilities, because I think that the fraud and waste is rampant. And I think that Governor DeSantis has done a great job, but he can't be everywhere, and he can't know the little stuff that I know. Like he's not in Broward County. He's not in a small city in Broward County to see
Yeah.
the way that they are wasteful with money, with the taxpayer's dollar. I've experienced those things firsthand. I've seen the fraud literally firsthand, and I won't be too um, I won't talk about it too much in depth, but I've seen the way the city of Lauderhill is a corrupt city, and I look forward to being able to audit that city among many other cities and counties in the state of Florida. So that's kind of my story. That's how I've become here, and I do truly look forward to if I get the opportunity to serve as the 22nd lieutenant governor. I intend to be a working lieutenant governor and have a positive effect, not just for law enforcement, but for the entire state of Florida.
Well, I'm hoping you being a prior cop is beneficial in that aspect, because there's work that needs to be done with law enforcement to make obviously we always want to improve everything, but if that's your specialty, baby, let's improve law enforcement. So let's go
Yeah.
down that line. Somebody is apparently from Florida, and we don't shy away from comments on here. So they're not happy with you. She said he is running for lieutenant governor in my state. I just Googled the stuff he says on post on X. It's not
Yeah.
hard to vet this dude. So any comments to that? I'm not exactly 100% sure what she's referring to.
Yeah, you can pull it up. There was a Bay News 9. It didn't get picked up by anybody, but some person in Clearwater Beach, some outlet near Tampa, So I'm primarily on Instagram, and now typical on that side. So I'm primarily on Instagram, but I am, of course, now I'm active more on X. In fact, my old Twitter account I ended up deleting when I got more involved with our tactical team, and just like not having like a public profile. My Instagram, until I became involved in this campaign, was private. I didn't. They made me make it public, and so my Twitter account that I used was like not a public facing account or anything. And then I got rid of that account as well because there's no like, if you're like scrolling feeds and stuff, like it's not private. So I got rid of my Twitter and I just had my Instagram for like connections with family and stuff. I had a brother. I had a brother who, a family member. I'm not going to dox him. I'm not going to talk about who he is, but
Right.
he had his personal account banned, and he's like, "Hey, can I use like, if I use your phone number, sign up for Twitter, can I use your phone number?" I'm like, "Sure, I don't use it, so fine." So he creates a Twitter. And he had said some expletive things on Twitter that I don't personally endorse. If you go through my Twitter though, from the time that he created it, it was like November of last year through, I don't know, January. There's like there's a handful of posts that again, I don't stand behind, but there's no posts that are like personal to me. Like there's nothing about like the campaign or me as like a sports fan. Like there's nothing that would like tie me to me. And so
Right.
you can see where it becomes me. It's like the end of February. They're like, "Hey, Sean, you have to start getting active on X because you're the director of operations and you should be like quote tweeting James and saying." I'm like, "Okay, fine." So at that point, I get back on Twitter and I just started using like normal. I don't dig through my history. In fact, when we sat down and I knew I was going to become the lieutenant governor, the running mate, they were like, "Hey, is there anything we need to know about? Like, is there?" And I'm like, look, they're going to dig through my personnel file at work, and like, it is what like. There's nothing insane in there. It's everybody's got a history, right?
Yeah.
They're going to dig through that, and that's going to come up, and that's fine. I don't shy away from anything I did as a police officer. But social media wise, like, no, I have no, like, there's no girl that's going to come forward. There's no like crazy thing on social media. Maybe you're going to find me arguing with like some Democrat, maybe on Instagram, but like, there's nothing crazy. And my Instagram has been the same since probably Instagram came out 15 or so years ago. So could dig through it. There's never been anything crazy there. And then, yeah, this guy called me one day, Jeff Butera from the Bay 9 News. He's like, "What are these tweets on Twitter?" And I'm like, "What tweets, bro?" And he sent me screenshots, and I was like, that's not good. And so I was like, here's my comment on it. Like yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, that's bad. I had already updated like my Twitter to like me. It was like my name and my PFP and everything. So like, what are these tweets? And I'm like, yeah, that's bad. I'm like, hey, look, I allowed my brother to use my Twitter because his phone number was banned. I know why his phone number was banned. I'm always stopped saying stuff like this. I don't stand by those things. It was a mistake to let him, use my Twitter. At the time, of course, I didn't think it was going to become any person, so I wasn't like scrutinizing my own social media. And that's it. That's all I have to say about it. So I answered it then. James answered it, and we moved on.
There you go, Samantha. There you go. Yeah, in KP Nation, actually, great point. Everybody's got a past. And people learn from their past. I think some of the best officers are the officers that have made a lot of mistakes. Lord knows I've made a lot of mistakes. But you touched on a topic that I actually posted about today. And it's the LPRs, the license plate readers. And it's a hot topic right now. So you being a law enforcement person, I'm going to set the tone for this. I'll let you guys know for me, like obviously license plate readers are a tool that I use, but with that tool, I think it is a awesome, great power that can be easily abused. So we need to have checks and balances. First and foremost, guys, my stance is vendors should not have access to the data. The data needs to belong to the department. So if the vendor, and there's more than just Flock, guys. Flock just happens to be the Kleenex version. Yeah,
Flock's the name.
The Kleenex version.
Flock's the Kleenex.
So if it needs to be exactly what it says it is. If it's a license plate reader, it needs to be just a license plate reader. It doesn't need to be something that can track Bluetooth devices and track car tag names and stuff like that. Like all of this stuff needs to be that way. It needs to be exactly what it says it is. So if it's a license plate reader, it needs to be a license plate reader. The data needs to belong to the department. The department needs to have a robust policy in place before they ever fucking let their people use this technology. And this is where departments get in trouble. And then when we start using license plate readers, um, we need to hold these vendors a little accountable to give us good auditing systems. Because if you work for, let's say you work for an agency that has 500 cops, I'm just putting something kind of in the middle out there, and 300 of them are patrol officers, and they're all entering license plates, numbers, and stuff like that into their LPR system. They need to be trained on how to do that stuff and understand how to use it. And when they do use it, they need to understand that if they use it inappropriately, there needs to be serious repercussions. I'm not talking you get a couple days off, no pay. I'm talking criminal charges. No different than if you abuse NCIC. So, and for those who don't know, NCIC is what we use to look up license plates, criminal history, stuff like that. So,
National Crime Information Center.
It should be as serious as NCIC, or in Florida, we have David driver and vehicle identification database. It should be as serious, in the. I would struggle to say as more serious, but yeah, it should be just as serious. Here's what I'll say about here's what I'll say about the whole thing with the LPRs. Okay, I like this thing here. Eric, you made that license plate reader video, something for me to think about. Yeah, so I haven't seen that video, but it's probably something worth checking out because they're becoming a hot topic. And like you said, Eric, Flock is just the Kleenex name for LPR, right? So we all use them. For us in our city, it was called a Recourse Scout was like the actual system we used. I don't know if those were the cameras, but here's the deal. I made good arrests on LPR, right? I've made good 10 arrests. And the LPRs that I got to use did not point in a way that could violate potentially somebody's privacy. And we only used them to read license plates. We weren't using them for other things. I think the uprising you're seeing, at least in the state of Florida with LPR, is some of these LPRs are being pointed now in places where it's like, hang on, why is this here? It's not an intersection. It's being pointed at a playground, or a portion of the church is in the field of view. Or in some cases, people are tagging James and I on Twitter, and they're like, hey, there's an LPR now that's like pointed inward in my community. Like, is there a possibility that there's a field of view in like somebody's backyard here, or people just walking around being seen on this? Like, what's the deal? I think that they start them, I think, with the best intentions. Hey, we're going to crack down on crime with these, and we're going to be able to track stolen vehicles, or if a vehicle is flagged as like it's entered into teletype as being an 18 vehicle, or there's it's kidnapping is associated with it. All those things sound great on paper, but when you start putting those cameras in places where it could potentially violate somebody's Fourth Amendment right, that is a bigger issue, in my opinion, than the ability to be able to track a 10. Why don't we make a 10 arrest the old-fashioned way, if that's your big case on having these LPRs? Where, again, I think that they were good when we had them in just areas that did not have a potential to violate someone's rights. But the moment you start putting them in places where someone has to even question whether their privacy is being violated, then the whole thing becomes a problem. A deputy, a rookie, he was like a 3-month cop. I could smell it a mile away. At one of our events months ago, had asked James about this, and James said, if I had the opportunity to ban firearms forever, and that's going to guarantee that, say, 100 whatever shootings a year don't happen, I would not ban those firearms, because we should not strip all of our freedoms away for ultimate security. It's just not how we live as Americans. And so I think that that's where we're starting to lead down this path with LPR and Flock. If the state of Florida elects James Fishback as the next governor, he will block Flock, as he likes to say. He will end the LPR nightmare that's going on in Florida. Maybe there's a case to be made to be able to have them in a way that there is, like you said, heavy scrutiny. You have to have them in certain places that can't just be wherever you want to put them. It needs to be, I think, for lack of better words, policed better. I think that they're just being able to be put down willy-nilly. And the last thing I'll say on this is it's similar, but no one talks about this because I think nobody knows about it. Have you guys had any use with ShotSpotter?
Oh, I'm not a fan of gunshot detection. I think it's a waste of money.
Yeah, so we had ShotSpotter all over the city of Lauderhill. I don't know what it costs, but I can imagine that's more wasteful spending because, yeah, waste of money. But here's the bigger thing. First of all, the city we as officers were not allowed to know where these sound detection devices were in our city. We were not allowed to know. And so here's the next thing that nobody ever asked. if they can pick up the gunshot detection, what else?
What else
could
are
that
they
potential-
listening to?
What else are they listening to?
Yeah.
So, we have this problem of, I don't want the LPR pointing at me. Well, what about the sound thinking devices that are all over the city? You have no idea what they can listen to. It's something that James likes to say, and this is absolutely true. If they had LPRs pointed at people's communities during COVID, you don't think Anthony Fauci would have sent the Gestapo out to knock on your door and say, whoa, hey, you were outside walking around without a mask on? That's a problem. We can't we can't police that way. Just the same way officers shouldn't be getting in trouble because of their body camera footage that records something. Hey, officer, I noticed that you weren't wearing your seatbelt because it was picked up on your body camera. You're not allowed to. You can't come down on me because a policy violation got picked up on my body camera. That's the same kind of future, though, that you're looking at if you allow an LPR to be installed at every corner of every street in every city in America. And same thing with these sound listening devices, these sound thinking devices.
Yeah. Good night, Pomegranate brother. Appreciate you jumping on and asking some questions. I want officers out there. I want to help you avoid a mistake. Because this is a problem, and this is one of the things that happens. And I want to kind of educate people how this works. Let's say Banning, he's working a homicide, and I like using worst case scenarios because it's just easier. So he's working a homicide, and he's got a good plate for the bad guy, that the one that they believe committed the homicide. So he gets that license plate, he enters it into the LPR system. So now any LPR cameras throughout the city, if that vehicle passes by, it's going to take a picture of that license plate and say, hey, it passed at First and Main at 3:00 today. And you'd be like, all right, cool. He was going southbound on that road. It doesn't show who's in the car. It doesn't show any of that stuff. It just lets you know that that license plate passed at that time. And you're going to be able to see a screenshot of the vehicle that license plate is attached to. So let's say Banning is out and about patrolling and that license plate reader hits and he's right around the corner. And he's like, oh shit, that's my car. So he goes up and he sees that car. This is where officers get themselves in trouble. And where departments screw up because they didn't take the time to create policy and training. There is no reason that he should depend on that license plate reader hit to pull this car over. He needs to confirm. He needs to visually see that that is the license plate. Okay, it's license plate ABC 123 out of Florida, and he needs to go look and say, oh yeah, that is license plate ABC 123. So now he's confirmed visually that it is the plate that he is looking for.
And make and model on a car. We got to cover that because some of these places
right. And that's the next part. Like you got to confirm that that's the actual car. Now here's the thing: can we pull them over now that we've seen the car and we see the plate? No.
You got to run that tag.
We have to run the fucking tag through NCIC and make sure that it's still wanted.
Yeah, what if it's not entered any longer?
Yes, that's where cops fuck up, because if it's a stolen vehicle or a wanted person for burglary, we'll start dumbing down the charges here. It doesn't matter. You cannot depend on the license plate reader to be up to date because they're not. It usually updates every 6, 12, 24 hours. It just depends on what you're.
They're not up to date. They do a bad job reading the tags. I'm sure you've seen a lot of times where it'll ping you. Oh wow, there's an 18. There's a felony vehicle driving through, and then you go look at it, and a D is a 0, or whatever. Or a 3 is an E. Like
it's the same.
Different state. Yeah. Or like Banning just said, it's not even on the make and model of the vehicle that was entered.
Right. So this is where officers screw up and they start to get themselves in trouble. When they're doing it right. Now, don't get me wrong. There's been officers already busted. For those that don't know, if we're going to go with Flock has recently introduced, they're trying to help fix the issue. They're one of the things that they did was that they released a AI assisted auditing system, and it's actually pretty fucking good. It's so good. It actually kind of makes you go down rabbit holes on people that it's normal shit. And I'm like, why the fuck are you flagging this? But it'll flag anything that hits these certain parameters of suspicious behavior. Entering a plate every day at like noon. And then you're like, why the fuck are you entering that plate every day at noon? That's weird. That's not normal. Normally, if it's a suspect, I enter it once and then I just wait for it to fucking show up.
I wait for the alert. Right.
Yeah. And it's in a 30-day window or whatever that window is. And that's it. But this auditing system is great, and it's automatic. So like a place like me where I'm at, do you know how many fucking hits there are a day and then uses a day? Oh my God, there's so many.
Yeah.
And we try to keep the auditing controlled. There's only 2 of us that do it for 2,000 fucking people. And that you know, that limits that span. That's what you want. You want to make sure it's being done right. And so for me, I love that. I think that's great. I think that's a good step of showing that you're trying to put good faith to hold people accountable. Now, what we need to start doing on the police side is when we do hold them accountable. And that's why you're seeing so many in the media right now, because this new auditing system came out and it's busting all sorts of people for doing dumb shit.
Yeah,
But
look at that female supervisor in Georgia, right? Just today that story broke.
yeah. So, but there needs to be criminal charges. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Cops aren't going to like hearing that, but fuck you. You are, like I said, there's some very powerful tools that police can use. I'm not going to let you ruin that for me, who's using it the way it's supposed to be used. So if we're going to keep public trust on this topic and have that fair, balanced middle ground, that's one of the things that you got to do.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
That's just what I think. I'm looking over here at the comments, and if the following officer is alone, if the following officer is alone, how do they run the plate? Do they type it in when moving? Wait to get it at a red light? Well, okay, I see what you're saying. It just depends, Jason.
I think it depends. Yeah, listen, if you're, I think you get really good at sort of typing while on the mo. And maybe people don't like to hear that, like, oh, you're not supposed to be doing that. I mean, your situation dictates what you're going to be doing. You know, I wasn't just posted up like running tags. I'd be driving around because you're looking for everything, right? And so, yeah, if there's a tag to me that looks suspicious, like, okay, man, my thing was with traffic, and I didn't love traffic, but I knew how to read a bad fake. Like I knew a temp tag was fake like in a second. And so if that was my assumption, you could do 2 things. And I think this is what Erik was about to say. You could either type it in on an NCIC yourself, which I would do a lot of times, Control P and run that tag, or you can go over the air. 43, can I get, can you run this tag for me? And they'll run the tag and come back. It would often be quicker to run the tag yourself if you felt like you could comfortably do that. But if you couldn't comfortably run the tag by yourself, you could always go over the air and just run the tag that way.
Gabby says the guy in the blazer is kind of handsome. Hola, guapo.
Thank you.
I know a little bit of Spanish. Just calling him handsome. So, yeah, that guys and tech's getting better. So one of the things that cops can do now, at least I've seen with some software companies out there, is they can just dictate it. They can just say it while they're in the car. They just have the thing ready to go for license plates, and they're like, either phonetically or just regularly be like Lincoln Tom Zebra 1 2 3 4, and it just dictates it in there. So there's all sorts of different ways, but I understand what you're getting at. Rules for thee, but not for me. There are certain things that cops can do. Running plates, I would say, is no different than, I don't need to look at my computer to run the plate necessarily. It's like operating a radio. You're only temporarily looking away from it. But,
distracted, yes, like a second.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be writing reports. And obviously, if I'm driving, I'm going to try to limit typing.
Yeah.
I just rather call it in. So I see that. But we are at the 2-hour mark, sir. We typically, it goes by quick. If we're doing it right, it goes by quick anyway. Sometimes you get guests on here and it's just painful. But you're not one of those.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
And I would tell you if you were. But I have pretty much asked everything that I've got written down. So from here, I love leaving it open. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you're like, I want to talk about this so we can fucking hammer it down?
I mean, as far as law enforcement goes, I try, like I said, I did try and kind of make it more about the law enforcement angle. And look, I loved being a police officer. We talked about narcotics kind of being my thing. I've got a million stories like every cop does. So, we don't need to go over war stories forever.
Right.
I think people love doing that. I commend you on being a property crimes guy, because I hated going to 21s, bro. Like a 21 would come out, and if it wasn't in progress, I didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, you
Like,
wanted
I want to
live
catch the
hot
bag.
access stuff. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Bro,
So
I was so deep into it. We were doing buybacks. We were using Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that. Like we
yeah,
would do undercover buys, undercover
PS5s and yeah,
sales.
the cereal. Yeah,
Like it was crazy. Like I didn't
that's
realize
cool.
how,
That's good
yeah,
stuff.
it was fun.
But a lot of these things now like are serialized. So you're right. Like the buyback should be easy if they stole like a console or
Yeah.
a MacBook or an iPhone or something. It'd be easily. I think those buybacks should be easy. And some of the property crime, like well, not even that. Like with like we had a string of robberies going on, and they were happening in this one area. There was this over like this pedestrian bridge that was going over the turnpike, right? And we were like, it was getting like embarrassing because it'd be like almost the same time, like every night, this guy would like rob somebody. And so they were like, hey, street crime's got to go out there and like deal with this. So we're like game planning. I'm with the street crime guys, and we're like, how are we gonna like what are we gonna do with this guy? So I'm like, Sarge, why don't you just send me out there in civilian clothes and like I'll get robbed. But like, like you'll be close enough. Like just let me go get robbed. And we were close like doing it, but they're like, that's too much liability. Like, what if he
Right.
shoots you or something? I'm like, he's not gonna shoot me. Just give him my phone. We're gonna get him,
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't end up doing it. But you're right. Like there's some like fun stuff. Like you get creative on how you're gonna like catch people. And I think that like some of the best advice you can have to cops, especially guys that are maybe earlier in their career, and obviously, to you guys, like I'm not like a veteran or anything. I think my experience sometimes make you feel that way because our week and my case, I did like 15 calls for service a day, and I was proactive, and so I think sometimes it feels like I was on the job longer than I was. But some of the best things you can have as a police officer is just like, not I think believing yourself more and like digging in some instances. And I'll share one story. I was a rookie, maybe 2 months off FTO, working nights, and I've become friends with a lieutenant that was there, and he was kind of like a mentor to me. And I remember one night I responded to this 13, a suspicious incident. There was a guy who was supposedly sitting outside of somebody's window and he was like knocking on their glass, and he was wearing all black. And so I show up and he's still there. And as I'm pulling up, he's getting ready to like bolt, So I jump out, I'm like, oh, wait, come here, come here. And so I get him detained. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, no, I'm leaving. And I'm like, well, you match a description of somebody that I'm looking for. And also, do you live in this apartment complex? No, I don't. Okay, well, then you're detained for LMP at least. So we're talking. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, no, I was leaving. I was here to see my friend, but he's not up, I guess. I'm like, all right, is it this unit here? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, yeah, no, this person doesn't want you around. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm going to leave. Well, no, I need to get you identified first. So what's your name? He's like, huh? When he said, huh, I knew whatever name he gave me next was going to be fake. Because if you ask me my name, I don't need to ask you, what was that? Like just say your name. So he gives me this name, this BS name. I'm like, okay, well, listen, hey, just for a minute while I get you identified, because he didn't have ID on. Like, while I get you identified, I'm just going to, and I grab his arm, I'm going to just detain you for a second. I click him up. Hey, start me another unit. And I sit him down. And now I'm running him on David and everywhere I can run this guy, and I can't find him anywhere. He has no arrest history. He has no nothing, right? He's like, oh, well, I just moved down here from New York a few weeks ago. That's why I don't come up in any of your systems. Yeah, okay, sure, And again, I'm like 2 months on the job, and it's just like my spider sense is tingling. Like, this is BS. I don't believe what you're saying to me. So I call my supervisor. I'm like, hey, LT, like, can you come out here? Because I know you have Accurant, and there's something to this. There's more to this. I need to get this guy identified. I don't feel comfortable letting him go. So he comes out and like, dude, we're working this thing to the bone. So finally he's like, hey, go say this name to him. Like, we're like, back and forth, like, go take a picture of this, go like a tattoo and whatever. So finally, he's like, go say this name to him and see if he reacts at all. So I walk over, I'm like, yo, I say the name, and he's like, huh? I'm like, gotcha. And I shut my door, and I go back over to my lieutenant, and he's like, he reacted. I'm like, yeah. And so we run that on David, and boom, that's the guy. We got his picture up. It's him. So I run this guy now on teletype. He's wanted out of Colorado for a homicide. And my zone partner, who is like the senior guy in my zone, in my district, the whole time I'm doing all this, he's like, man, what are you wasting your time for? This is so stupid. Like, you're wasting all this time for a 13. Like, we could be, doing. He wanted to go back to doing nothing. This guy was in my time as a police officer, I made probably 150, 160 arrests. This guy's probably made 30 arrests, and none of them are proactive. So he couldn't understand why I was doing all this. And I'm like, no, dude, because I don't have this guy identified. He's in my custody right now, and I don't know who he is. So lo and behold, this guy's wanted for homicide. And we're driving to the jail. I'll never forget. This guy said to me, I've given that name before, and the cop just, why'd you do all this? Like, what made you dig and like work to, like, what made you do all this? I'm like, because you hesitated when you told me your name, and I couldn't get you identified, and I was never gonna let you leave until then. And he was like, honestly, like, it was just impressive that you just wouldn't let me leave. Like, you didn't just believe me.
Yeah.
And I share that story with younger cops and just with other people, because it's a story, and it's not like exciting. I mean, other than him having that 99, that warrant, but like nothing crazy had to happen. You know what I mean? Everybody's waiting for that, like, oh, and then what? He like ran, like in that video that I have. He ran, or he reached, or no. It was just that hesitation, and it was just that, like, you should identify anybody in your custody, because who knows what that guy was here to do, and who knows what he would do next week or whatever. Now he's going to be dealt with the way he needs to be dealt with. So, yeah, it was an interesting early experience.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Well, it's always good when you get somebody trying to play the name game, and you fucking are able to corner them and figure out who they were. I actually told the story not too long ago, but we had one where we were working a property crimes thing, and it ended up being a pedophile, and it, like, we couldn't get him ID'd on the scene. Like, you can only hold him for so long,
Mhm.
and so we had to let him go. I was like, cut him loose, because I don't, if we do find something now, it's going to be, it's going to be fruit of the poisonous tree. We've held him too long. So let's kick him loose. So we kicked him loose. We immediately went back to the house and started digging. And then one of our guys figured out who he was. Same thing. You see the picture, like, that's the fucking guy. And,
Right.
and we're thinking burglar or something to that effect, not fucking, aggravated assault of a child, or like
31,
sexual
yeah.
assault of a child.
Oof.
We're like, Jesus Christ. And so
Yeah.
now all of the information that we had got, like, we found out he was living with 3 kids that weren't his, that were his
Wow.
girlfriends. And so, yeah, it turned bad.
So who knows? Yeah.
The CACU unit told us about how heinous this guy was, but same thing.
It's tough.
We kept digging and plugging away, because just like you said, there was something there. We knew there was something there, couldn't figure it out, and it ended up being the worst of the
Trust
worst.
your instincts, and dig. So, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I guess some of the final things I'll say for people that are watching. Of course, you guys are based in Texas. We're here in Florida, but James Fishback is the real deal as far as supporting law enforcement. It's not just platitudes. He literally picked a police officer to be his running mate, because he's a little insane, but also because it's true to keeping an anti-establishment movement and keep this thing grassroots. So, anti-data center, only one candidate in this race is talking about blocking data centers, and it's James Fishback. So I'm proud to be on this ticket. I'm proud of my work as a law enforcement officer, and I hope to be able to affect positive change in the law enforcement community. I think you said it best, actually, Eric. Law enforcement's my thing, so let's stick with that, and that's what I intend to do in this new role, is stick with law enforcement, stick with what I know.
Interesting. I love it. It's very rare to find somebody like you doing something like this, so that's why I wanted to have you on and just kind of pick your brain, brother.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll keep updated. You got my number now.
Yeah.
So definitely keep us in the loop. But yeah, really appreciate having you on. I'm gonna stick around with Banning. We're gonna keep talking to the crowd and stuff like that. I don't want to bore you with our crowd work and talking to our people, but we really appreciate you, and thank you for your time, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you, Banning. Thanks. It's been a pleasure getting to speak with you as well. And I appreciate the questions and interacting with your audience. It's been cool. So thank you so much.
Hell yeah.
Sean, appreciate you.
Take it easy, man.
Have a good night.
Later. There we go.
A lot of people asking, and just so everybody is aware, I try to be respectful of our guest. I try to not let this control this too much, because I wanted to let Sean to have some time.
Yeah. I saw that. That's why I was like, you know what? They're wondering why Banning's not talking that much. I'm gonna make some extra time after after our guest, just for Banning. Now it's Banning's show, guys. I'm just gonna sit here and watch.
And people are asking the rate that Erik has to pay for each word coming out. I mean, I get it, guys. I wasn't talking much, but I was listening to the story. I mean, the guy had a fascinating story. He's running for office. I've ran for office in the past. We'll never do that again. It was an eye opener, but it was an experience. And I wish him the best of luck. And hopefully, if he gets in the office, he does the best to make law enforcement better.
Yeah, it was interesting because I had run across his one of the campaign videos, and it was basically like that. It was an arrest video. I was like, what the fuck is this? I've never seen a campaign video like this. I don't even know why it ran across my algorithms because I don't really follow politics anyway. But it was just interesting to see a cop have a cop video and have, political spin on it. I was like, oh, that's cool. So I had wrote a comment. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Get some or something to that effect. And it was today. He reached out today and was like, hey, I would be interested in getting on your podcast if you'll have me. I didn't know him. I didn't know Sean at all. We had never had a conversation other than on this show, guys. So it worked out. I thought that was a good episode. It was fun to hear. I think people got to ask plenty of good questions. I don't know shit about Florida politics. You guys know we don't do politics on here. So I think we did a good job skirting it as best we could.
And Tim, thank you. You, as soon as you got in, you looked for what was going on in the chat and you quickly addressed it. You did your job. We appreciate what you do each and every day.
Yes. Thank you very much.
This one was a rare occurrence to where we were talking a little bit, but it wasn't so much politics. It was more law enforcement based. But thank you for what you do, Tim.
Yeah. Lunas keeps getting on me about not asking about baseball. I put the question up there. I wasn't going to read it while he was talking, and then we just went past it. It is what it is. I can't get to all of them. Sorry. Everybody knows it doesn't matter about baseball at all because if it's not the Tigers, no one gives a shit. So that's just how it is.
Freeman Keys was asking, how's my health and my diet? Man, it's going great. I'm still plateaued right about 270, which is the lowest I've been in a couple of years. And I'm going to continue to go more. Matter of fact, Monday, starting tomorrow, I'm going for a long fast. Last week, I was going to start a fast, then work got involved. We had the Texas Sheriff's Conference here. Erik was on vacation. Anyway, it was busy, and I couldn't do it. It wouldn't make sense to do it then. This week is a little bit lighter of a week, so I'm going to get a long fast in. I'm hoping for longer than 3 weeks. We'll see how it goes of just water and coffee. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Marine Blood said, yes, if you want Erik to be able to afford paying banning, talk more, donate. Oh, shit.
$5 a word. It's not.
Well, banning, let's see what I got on my Instagram here since I got it pulled up. Maybe there's a good video, a reaction video that we need to talk about. Oh, this is a good one. You're going to like this one. Let me share the screen.
And answer Mike Cucumber's question. He just asked it. So the longest I did, Mike, was 8 full days, rested 3 days, and did another 8 full days. And I've done a couple other 2 and 3 day fasts. So 8 days of nothing but water and coffee did my body great. And that's that. Yeah, that's as long as I've done. I plan to do more though.
All right, let's pull this video up here.
Speed limit inside.
Hold on, let me. It does not look too great over on. Let's see, what does this one look like? That doesn't look good either. I'm trying to set it up so it looks good on the vertical and on. That'll work. That's good enough, I think. Let me see what this one looks like. No, I like this one. Okay. So we're unmuted.
I help you. You walked up to my car.
Yeah, you're speeding through the parking lot.
No, I'm not.
You're going over 5 miles an hour.
How can I help you?
You're going over 5 miles an
Who
hour.
are you? I don't even know who you are.
Really? Yes, you do. HPD. You're
Okay.
speeding inside a parking lot.
What's your name?
Michael Altman.
Why are you coming up to my car?
Because you're speeding inside a parking lot.
No,
Give me your
no,
driver's
I'm not.
license.
No, I'm
Give me
not.
your driver's license.
No, I'm not.
Give me your driver's license.
Call a supervisor.
No, give me your driver's license.
Call a supervisor.
Ma'am, give me your driver's license.
Call a supervisor.
Give me your driver's license.
Your boy's got cuffs
Call
on
a
him.
supervisor.
Give me your driver's license.
Call a supervisor.
Y'all, I can't make. Bro, I thought it was fake. I thought there's no way that can be real.
It looks scripted. I was going to call that, but when he pulled the badge. You know, I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? This is something an idiot off duty maybe knew, never been addressed. That's just, man, why?
Why?
Why even get involved in that? Let the
Right.
on-duty guys friggin' do it. Didn't look like we didn't get to see the car driving. Maybe she was driving fast. Great. Be a great witness. If it's that fast, call emergency services and let them send somebody out there to deal with it that's in uniform, on duty, to act on what would be here in the state of Texas as a Class C misdemeanor.
And I'm pretty sure that was Houston. I think that's what that was. I'm guessing, but I think I saw in the comments somebody figured out that it was Houston, and dude's a real cop. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the background. I'm like, all right, it does look like in its apartment complex. So maybe he's an off duty, then he's got a courtesy officer gig. So for those wondering what a courtesy officer gig is some apartments will pay for an apartment complex for their local police officer, or give them a hefty discount, or give them half off their rent, whatever it is. But their job is to handle any of the calls that happen at the apartment complex, and they get a discount for doing that. So I'm guessing that somebody complained that this car has been speeding through the parking lot, and he was like, whoa, not on my watch. I'm going to go over there and make contact. And he didn't anticipate the pushback. So when you work those gigs, when you do get a courtesy officer gig, there's protocols to that. There is ways that you should do that. One, you're supposed to go get in uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you got to go handle a call, you get in uniform. Two, you call it out. You got to call dispatch and say, hey, handling a call at my security officer gig.
I did it for 5 years at 3 different locations, and I didn't do that. If I was going to go, because I just give everybody an example on what mine was. One was in the larger city that I worked, and they basically hooked up me as the off-duty officer that lived on premises for anything after 8 p.m. or I'm sorry, after 5 p.m. when the office closed. It was a call center. So if a resident had a loud music complaint or somebody was parked in their spot, this would be sent to my box. And a lot of it was civil, and I had no legal grounds of action. All I could do was document it. I let the office see it the next day. Or if it was criminal, or if you want to call loud music criminal, I mean, it can be because there's a fine associated, and the law enforcement officer on duty can write you a citation. You have to appear in court for it. I would call on-duty officers and allow them to come out and make that assumption after I already listened to it, being careful not to tie up on-duty personnel for something very small as well. But if I were to go knock on a door off-duty and do something, I would let my dispatch know I wore a uniform, plainly had writing on as police officer, like I would on the street. So there's different checks and balances. And if this guy was the deal, he just didn't handle that right. And I'm sure that went pretty viral with that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But and then the cuffing, like again, the point I make in the video, juice being worth the squeeze.
Yes.
Like if you're an officer out there, what the fuck are you doing? One, how are you going to measure speed in a private parking lot, and enforce it? You can't.
Nope. And then if that was in the state of Houston, you can't enforce which that would be called again a Class C violation. You can't enforce that as an off-duty officer. Period. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. Stupidity. So my brain was like I swear I thought it was fake. I couldn't, and I just couldn't let it go though. So I wanted to read more, and sure shit, it was real. Let me see. Yeah, I think I got one more video. Okay. Oh, let me share screen. Is it not going to play? What's it doing here? I just keep clicking it. What's happening? Consider this part 2 of Do you think police have a duty to protect handcuffed suspects?
Stop moving your fingers.
All right, I'm a pivot.
Stop moving your fingers. Grabbing on me. Stop. Stop. I told you, I warned you multiple times you're gonna get punched. If you keep grabbing on me and moving your fingers, stop. Yeah, you understand now? Stop. Stop! Move! Stop moving your finger!
This one's out.
All right.
Ooh.
Yeah, that one pissed you off, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've been out of the social media mix this week, so I didn't see either one of those reels that you had shared, and that gets the blood pressure up a little bit.
Yeah. So basic background on that one is the dude got arrested for whatever. I can't. Some people were saying he's drunk. I almost kind of think he has some special needs stuff going on. It's kind of hard to tell in that small clip, but the officers are attempting to do fingerprint cards in the Sally Port with his handcuffed subject. Why? I've never seen that before.
I've done hundreds of fingerprint cards, and if they're too physically aggravated to give you fingerprints at the time, you put them in a holding cell till they calm down. There's different ways around that, but first of all, trying to do fingerprint cards and handcuffs for one takes some talent. Two, I mean, this guy had ego just from the beginning of it. Obviously, that's going to be for some people the exciting part of the video when they're acting like that. But I want to know what drove this peace officer to that level. Nothing in the excuse book that you could say on that. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
What pisses me off is the other officer not immediately like, what the fuck? Like, that would have been my immediate reaction. Like, what are you doing? Like, break him up. You get the fuck out of here. Like, obviously. And then take the guy into the Sally Port, into the jail, because why are you fingerprinting out there? That's the other part. But dude deserves jail. And I'll give the department credit. They did charge him. So they did the right thing. So, yeah, it was a crazy video. I just had to point that one out.
Here's the thing. Did they charge him because this thing went viral on a FOIA, or did they charge him?
No, they did it. They did it on their own right away. Yeah,
Okay,
they did the right thing. And I gave them credit for it. They did what was right.
Yeah.
So Super Chat, Starch Manning said, for $5, he said, how do you all feel about ICE? I don't really have any interaction with ICE, to be honest. I don't have an opinion. I think from what I hear and what I kind of know, they don't have long enough training.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should be trained better. But where I'm at, it's never really been an issue. Anytime that we've actually worked with or around ICE, it's been pretty basic, nothing crazy, and had some guys that had done some pretty violent crimes. One guy shot up an elderly Hispanic couple's van when they were backing out of their driveway because he said they got too close to his car. They didn't even hit their car, and lit the back of their car up with an AK. Didn't hit them somehow miraculously, and but we ended up finding him and had to get ICE involved because he was a Haitian national.
Golly.
Yeah, it was an odd case. I didn't, I was working general assignment, so random shooting case I got. It wasn't gang related or anything like that. So anyway, I don't really have a good answer for that. I don't have an opinion about ICE. I can tell you that I feel like they need more training. The big recruiting push they're doing, they're only giving them like 42 days of training or something like that, from my understanding. So,
yeah, I think I've had two. Everybody thinks, oh, you're in Texas, you must deal with ICE all the time, and you're on. No, I really didn't. I had two run-ins. One is they were trying to locate a subject in the county that I worked. I wanted to speak to the supervisor on duty, and I was the supervisor and only person on duty. So I spoke to them and went by and got some license plates that were in a public area for them. And then they were like, okay, we don't think he's there. And they went on to look at other investigative means to catch that person. And the other one was they were taking down a person in a public place and wanted law enforcement presence there, and provided the warrant, all the legal reasons why they were going to be there. And it went off without a hitch. Nobody was hurt. And it was a pretty violent person. So I didn't have any negative interactions with him. And I know people have, but I just personally didn't.
Yeah. Michigan Farm Boy said, off-duty cops not having authority to do something doesn't stop enough officers from doing something, because they are given power to do whatever they think is right without much consequence. In the state of Texas, like I have authority 24/7. as a cop because I'm a sworn peace officer. I have authority 24/7, technically throughout the entire state. Now my department policy says no, but unless it's like somebody's in serious, imminent threat of serious bodily injury or death, I'm probably not going to get too involved anywhere outside of my own city.
Yep. And most of the off-duty officers do well with it. They're a good witness. They're on the phone with 911 if they're not in their area, just describing what they see. They may have their wife's phone in their hand or, maybe recording what's going on so they can give it to the investigating detective of what's going on, just being a good witness and writing out a good voluntary statement. I mean, I've had that happen to me on vacation with my family. I watched a drunk driver slam into another vehicle with a family inside. And, could I have gone over there and effectively made an arrest? Yes, but that probably would have made it worse. I was there as a good witness and we were able to call it in. Law enforcement got there on duty and I was able to provide a voluntary witness statement, just like any of the viewers can do when they call 911 and just to articulate what you saw. And I haven't seen too many off-duty officers here. Have I seen them? Have they been addressed? Yes. Kind of like the extent of the first video that Erik showed out there. That's kind of some of the stuff that I've seen, but very, very rare.
Ryan said, Erik, are you required to carry a firearm when you're off duty? No, I'm not required to. Do I? Yeah, I'm always carrying, brother. Carrying right now. Not only am I carrying right now, there's like several other items around me that I don't need to carry, but I'm always carrying. And I'm on my own property. So I've just seen too much shit as a cop where I'm just like, yeah, you should probably carry all the time. Just never know. I'm a big believer in the Second Amendment, y'all. You know that. Most of y'all know that. So, all right, let me go back to this video thing here. Let me see if it'll let me play this. It wouldn't let me click this one video for some reason. So I clicked on that one to like mess with it. But it's a Texas one, I believe. It's still not doing it. What's wrong with this video? I wonder if I click a different area. Maybe if I open it in a new tab. Here we go. We're going to share this tab instead.
Because I am not being No, you're not. There's no reasonable articulable suspicion.
I'm not going to sit here and argue this on the
Okay.
phone with you.
Well, then you're free to go.
You're free to go.
Yeah, I know.
So you need to move along from where
I don't have to move along. This is a public space. Get your sergeant here.
He's right there.
I'm right here.
What's your name and
We are
badge
here
number?
for a legitimate reason because we get a call for service on you, which allows us to contact you. Okay?
There is no reasonable articulable suspicion because you have not identified a law that I have broken or have been suspected of breaking because you have not witnessed anything that I have done. I mean, if you guys want to get sued, that's fine.
Identify yourself or you can be placed under arrest.
Placed under arrest for what? Am I being detained right now?
Until you identify yourself, yes.
If I have committed a crime, then go ahead and arrest me.
Nah, that's not.
So what really drives me up the wall on this one is the beginning of the debate was, am I free to go or can I leave? And he's like, yeah, you're free to go. Like, and they say like, yeah, go. And then at the end of it, now all of a sudden you can be charged with a crime for not identifying on something that you were originally free to. So what changed between the time I was free to go and I'm not free to go?
Ego raise.
Ego, 100%. And what pissed me off even more is there's a sergeant backing all of that shit up. But one of the points in this that kind of I want to make a point about is the charging of, you being charged for not showing your ID, which is not true. In Texas, you either have to be under arrest or has to be a lawful traffic stop for you to get failure to ID. We didn't have that. The other point that I wanted to make is, and this kind of goes against the camera guy. Officers are not required to articulate their reasonable suspicion to you.
Right.
Now, do I think it's beneficial and that you should if you have it and you're trying to investigate something? Yeah, I think you should.
Keeps the situation a lot calmer if you're just
right. But where my articulation needs to be is on the report for the courts, not for you. And again, that's just the way the law is written. I'm not saying I agree with that. If I'm going to stop this guy on the street, like, hey man, we got a call here. They said that a guy wearing exactly what you're wearing was breaking into cars. And that's why we're out stopped with you right now. And then go from there. Now you start to investigate. Oh no, I work right there at that corner store and I was on my way home. Oh, okay, cool. That makes sense. Well, I didn't see you do anything. I've got no offense. I got nobody complaining that a car's been broken into. I don't have a lawful reason to get your ID, but it would help my report. You're not required to give it to me, but can I get your ID? Because I'm always going to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell me kick rocks or my name's Megatron. Okay, Megatron, I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good night. That's how that goes, guys. Short and sweet. It's not hard. But them cops fucked up.
And it's just bad. I mean, it looks like they're on a downtown presence down there, so they're dealing with people all throughout their shift. And it's just like, how many times has this gone on? And when does that training stop on your FTO telling you, hey, if dispatch gives us a call, you better not be the one that's not identifying everybody on scene. Every time I hear somebody going through that type of training, Lord have mercy, man.
Yeah.
That's just horrible.
It's why I said, I think just like the Miranda warning, I think us as officers, there needs to be a national requirement of educated consent. I guess that's the best way to put it. I don't know another way to verbiage that, but if I have a right to your ID, I need to say, hey, I need your ID. Here's why I'm privy to it. Or, hey, can I get your ID? I'm asking because I don't have a right to it right now, but it would help me out if you could give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've educated you, just like with the Miranda warning. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you for law, blah, 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 blah. With that in mind, do you want to talk to me? Kick rocks. All right. I'll be over here fucking off. Thank you.
If you don't have anything else as the peace officer, you don't have anything else.
Yeah.
On to the next.
Yep. Erik Mustaine said, have you guys heard about the cop in Mundelein, Illinois that shot and killed the black lady? There's a body cam video of it. Was just curious if y'all thought it was warranted.
Never even heard of it. Unfortunately,
Let me type it up. What did he say it's called? Mundelein, Illinois. Illinois. I can't spell it. Shooting black lady. See if that helps out. Videos. Family of woman killed in police shooting. This was 2 weeks ago. We'll share the screen. You guys can watch the story with me because I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Share screen. Bam. Boom. And we can make this the last story of the night. All right. You guys see what I see? Let's biggie size this guy. And go.
North suburban Mundelein is now demanding accountability. Loved ones packed a village board meeting last night demanding answers. You may remember on May 11th, family members called police to a home in Mundelein saying 37-year-old Mary Alice Love was having a mental health crisis. Police body cam video shows the moment they found Love in the backyard with at least one knife. We want to warn you, some might find this video disturbing.
What?
She's got a large knife sitting right next to her.
Oh my God, I didn't see that.
Get her out of the house. Ma'am, come on.
Now that was the moment an officer opened fire. Police say he was in fear for his life. The family says cops didn't do enough to de-escalate things. They also took issue with the city's response in the week since.
They didn't quite show the whole thing, but if you're gonna walk in during a arrest situation with a knife, like, it made sense to me. Like, if that person that was in the hoodie walking in had a knife and that's why they fired when they did because they were trying to arrest the old lady that was having a mental health issue, that makes sense. I don't know.
You just need more context. Unfortunately, that was a news story, and they clip it out for time. But I'd like to see the entire body camera footage if somebody wants to direct it towards us. And can't really. It's hard to give all we have are opinions, so it's hard to give an opinion on it.
Yep. Sorry about that. But yeah, other than that, I feel like this was a good episode. I think we got a lot done. I got nothing else. Bannon, you got anything else for the peeps?
No, man, it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate all of you being here. Sorry I didn't talk enough for everybody. I was trying to give Sean his time. Next time, I'll make sure I chime in just a bit more.
And you know me, guys, I talk too much, so tell me to shut the fuck up. But anyway, all right, guys, I appreciate you. Thank you for all the donations tonight. Really does help out. Harrison, thank you very much, sir. You've helped us out 2 nights in a row, so big shout out to you. Love it, brother. Thanks for the help, and everybody have a good night. Peace.